I have a mobile phone in my Dantian. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126. Linjin took the injured girl and carefully passed through the thorny forest. There was a farmland in front of him. If it was summer, there would be crops in the farmland to cover the fields, but it was late autumn and winter was approaching. The farmland was already red and yellow. At a glance, there was no cover. He rushed all the way. After all, he was a giant and stage cultivator. Even if he was injured at this moment, he was not comparable to ordinary mortals. Swish. Linjin ran for several miles in one breath. The mountain village was right in front of him. Suddenly, his eyes turned. Looking at a corner of a rice field hundreds of meters ahead, there were two figures there. The two figures were hiding behind the piles of yellow grass. They were wearing dark green Taoist robes and carrying long swords and magic weapons. Many disciples of the Six-Yin sect had fled in a hurry before, but two people were left behind. These two people had just joined the Six-Yin sect not long ago. Their cultivation was only in the middle stage of condensation key, and they had no sins on their bodies. They were left behind because Sudong didn't do anything to them, so they were safe. Brother Cheng is the same. He also asked us to keep an eye on the three people. What if that great master gets upset and kills us? What can we do? If we don't obey, will we be punished? Besides, that master will only bully us. When our Yuanying realm senior brother comes, he will have to pay back. The two were discussing. One of them turned around for some reason. That's senior brother Lin. What? The companion next to him was stunned and looked back. He was stunned. Just a few hundred meters away from them, he saw a figure turning around and running away. Linjin was still carrying the girl on his back. Haha, God really helped us. He actually let us find senior brother Lin first. Quick, use the Taoist talisman to send a message. Both of them were stunned by this sudden surprise. If they find Linjin, Elder Zao will give a big reward. The two quickly sent the message. Let's go and stop senior brother Lin. Senior brother Lin was hit by Elder Zao's palm, and then was injured by senior brother Beifang's Taoism. How much power can he have left now? He also brought a burden with him, so he can't even speed up. This is our chance. The two of them quickly use the wind control technique to rush over. Usually, they dared not offend the senior brother in front of them, but now, the tiger is bullied by the dog in the plain. It's time for them to turn over. Linjin was walking through the fields and heard the sound of breaking wind from behind. He looked back and saw two figures chasing him. It's troublesome. If they see us, they will definitely send a message back. Linjin thought to himself. Lin Lang, put me down and use the wind control technique to escape. The girl's Iobe on his back said anxiously. What nonsense are you talking about? If we can live, we will live together. If we die, we will die together. Linjin madly circulated his spiritual power on his legs and ran quickly. Hold me tight. Tears fell from the corners of the girl's eyes, and her hands tightly hugged Linjin's chest. We must die together. I'll run away. I have no hope. Let's give it a try. The two of them were just staring at the mountain village. I'll go around and go into the mountain village. Linjin was extremely anxious and began to run diagonally. Chase. Haha, senior brother Lin is really good at running. Run faster, you won't even have a chance to run in a while. In the sky, two disciples of the Six-Yin sect were chasing in the wind, laughing wantonly. In the courtyard of Neojiazhuang in the village, Sudong, Suking, and Qin Liuniang were sipping tea. Suddenly, the Qian compass in Sudong's Dantian opened, and there was a vibration. The compass pointed to the outside of the village. The two women were still sipping tea carefully. I'll go out for a while. Sudong stood up, and his figure instantly turned into a golden lightning, and disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already outside the mountain village. At a glance, he saw the figure fleeing in panic in front and the two immortal cultivators chasing behind. Are they the two disciples of the Six-Yin sect? Are they really not leaving? Sudong sneered. He immediately looked at the figure running wildly in front of him. His eyesight was so strong that he could see it clearly. Demonic aura. He first saw the demonic aura on the woman on the back of the figure. Then, he looked at the man. In the Dantian, the luck compass opened. Suddenly, the two figures appeared on the luck compass. Both of them had a faint aura of luck, and the female demon's body was faintly about to turn into golden light. A demon with merit and golden light on its body. This is a good demon. Help them. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Sudong's heart moved, and his figure instantly turned into golden lightning, and disappeared on the spot. He flew across the sky, and flew into the distance. Linjin was running wildly in the field with a girl on his back, and the green spiritual energy flow was wrapped around his calves. His speed was not slow, but the two immortal cultivators behind him were obviously faster and more relaxed than him. Normally, he would have easily killed these two key condensation stage cultivators, but at this moment, he really had no strength left. Xiaobei, we are really going to die today. In despair, Linjin looked at things in a more relaxed way. I'm sorry. The girl behind him choked with sobs. You are not sorry for me. I don't know how happy I'm to die with you. I just hate these scums, and want to kill them all. Linjin gritted his teeth, and anger rose in his eyes. He had been practicing all the way, and he was really unwilling to die like this. The most unwilling thing was to die in the hands of these scums. Forget it, we won't run away. Suddenly, Linjin's figure paused, and he stopped, and put the girl behind him on the soft straw. He held a sword, and looked at the 6 insect disciples who flew over in an instant. I, Linjin, will die in battle even if I die. He gritted his teeth, staring at the two cultivators with a fiery look. In his heart, he said, if I can kill these two 6 insect disciples, Xiaobei will still have a chance to escape. He tried his best to fight for the woman behind him. The girl Xiaobei leaned weakly on the straw, tears in her eyes, but she was staring at the back of the man in front of her. This was her lover, and she had never loved the wrong person in her life. TSK, you still want to fight with us? Senior brother Lin, how much strength do you think you have left now? The 6 insect disciple in front sneered. We won't fight you in close combat. We have the Taoist talisman given by the elders. Just surrender. The disciple took out a Taoist talisman and activated it instantly, forming a series of green silk threads. In an instant, it condensed into a large net and fell towards the man below. Swish. But a golden lightning flashed across the sky in an instant, directly tearing the large net apart and dissipating it, revealing a young man's figure. Seeing the young man's figure, the two arrogant 6 insect disciples suddenly widened their eyes in fear, but they didn't have time to beg for mercy. The young man in front had already waved his palm expressionlessly, and 2 sword ki burst out, easily piercing the necks of the two. Suddenly, 2 headless corpses fell from the air to the ground. They can't die anymore. Swish, the golden lightning flashed again, and it landed in front of Linjin, turning into a tall young man with a gentle smile on his face. Brother, are you interested in going into the manor, to drink 2 cups of tea, and take a rest? Sudong said with a smile. When Linjin heard it, he finally reacted, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. A master, a real supermaster, who turned into lightning, and easily broke the elder's Taoist talisman. Such an existence must be a great master of the Jin Dynasty. They are saved. They are saved. Xiaobei, come quickly. Thank you for saving my life. Linjin and the girl behind him knelt down to express gratitude. It's just a small matter. Sudong looked at Linjin with great satisfaction. He would never leave the girl behind him and run away alone. He was a man of true nature. Let's go. Sudong invited. Wait a moment, senior. Linjin said, and then he ran to the bodies of the 2 Liu Einman disciples and searched for a while, and then ran back. He carried the girl Xiaobei on his back again. Sudong watched with a smile, and then led the 2 of them towards the mountain village. Chapter 127, The Elder of the God. When they returned to the manor, Suking and Qin Liuniang had already been waiting in the courtyard. Seeing Linjin and the girl behind him, they quickly asked Master Liu to arrange a room for them to rest. Benefactor. Everyone was in the room. Linjin looked at Sudong with gratitude in his eyes. Just call me Sudong. How did you escape all the way here? Sudong also looked at his embarrassed appearance. How could he look like a cultivator? Well, my name is Linjin. I was originally a giant and disciple of the 6 insect. Because of an accidental opportunity, I was hunted down by the elders of the sect. I fled all the way. If it weren't for the help of my benefactor, I would have died. Lin Jin said, and just as he finished speaking, his pale cheeks suddenly turned red, and a green air appeared between his eyebrows. He immediately used his power to suppress the green air. Sudong also guessed that this person was a disciple of the Liuan sect, but he didn't care. There are hundreds of people in a place, not to mention a sect. At this moment, he frowned and looked at Lin Jin, saying, "Are you injured so badly?" Suking and Qin Liuniang also looked at the couple with worry. "It's okay. Let me recuperate for a while. When I recover, I will leave immediately and never drag down the benefactor's family." Lin Jin clasped his fists and said, his face was pale, but the apology in his eyebrows could not be concealed. "Lin Lang, your injury is very serious." But it was the girl lying on the bed who said with heartache. Lin Jin looked at her, and his face was pale. Yes, he had suppressed his injuries all the way here, fearing that if he slacked off, he would be caught up by the Liuan sect. Sudong shook his head and turned his palm. There was an extra bottle of pills in his hand. He poured 2 pills from the bottle and handed them to Lin Jin. "I have a spiritual medicine given by a friend. If you trust me, you can try taking it." This. Lin Jin hesitated. The person in front of him had already saved his life. How could he still accept the spiritual medicine? But Sudong said so much. If he didn't accept it, wouldn't it mean that he didn't trust this benefactor? After hesitating, he could only be respectful and grateful. "Thank you, benefactor." Lin Jin reached out to take the pill given by Sudong, and then gave it to Xiaobei on the bed to take, and then swallowed it himself. After swallowing the pill, he had not yet transformed it, but he immediately felt a stream of spiritual power full of vitality burst out from his body. His meridians, which were originally severely injured, recovered rapidly under this spiritual power. Not only him, but even the girl Xiaobei, who was unable to move before, slowly sat up from the bed, looking at her palm with excitement. I can move." The girl got off the bed and excitedly pulled Lin Jin's palm. Spiritual medicine. First class spiritual medicine. Lin Jin was also stunned. Such a magical medicine, was it just given to them? The two wanted to kneel down to thank Sudong again, but Sudong waved his hand and released a stream of true energy, and the two could not kneel down. "It's just a small matter." Sudong smiled. The elixir refined by Mengsi Niang with golden ring and a derma lucidum was naturally extraordinary. Small matter? It was a small matter for the benefactor, but it was a great favor to them. "Benefactor, my injury has healed, and I will leave now. I can't drag you down. I will never forget your life-saving and medicine gift. If Lin Jin can survive this disaster, I will repay you in the future." He stood up and clasped his fists again. He took out an item from his storage bag. Sudong stretched out his hand to stop him. "You don't have to go." He smiled. "Benefactor, you don't know, I have offended Zaok, one of the 3 great elders of the Sixian sect. This man is cruel and ruthless, and has a profound Taoism." Lin Lan said. "Elder of the god of transformation?" Suking and Qin Liuniang next to him were both shocked. Mahayana cultivators generally do not show up in the world, and the immortals who have reached the state of transformation can be said to be the top combat power. They looked at Sudong with concern. "Don't worry." Sudong didn't care at all. "You just take good care of yourself here, and when this matter is over, you can go wherever you want. I will never stop you." "Brother Su, that's a cultivator of transformation." Qin Liuniang next to him couldn't help but say. Even Suking looked at him worriedly. Sudong was very relaxed. "Otherwise, I will notify the elders in the sect now and ask them to come to help, but the Qingshan Sword sect is far away from here, and it will take half a day for the elders of the transformation to arrive." Suking also said. At this time, outside the mountain village, the villagers suddenly saw a dark cloud flying in the sky. The dark clouds rolled, and when they got closer, they could see clearly that it was a series of figures stepping on the clouds. There were at least 100 people, and they stayed above the mountain village, and then quickly dispersed. Immortal cultivators. Flying on clouds and mist, they are all gods. The villagers had never seen such a scene before, and they were all amazed. Some even knelt and kowtowed, praying for good weather. Among the many immortal cultivators, 3 Yuanian cultivators walked out. These 3 Yuanying cultivators, all wearing dark blue Taoist robes, surrounded by many disciples, looked at the village below with cold faces. From the time we received the message to now, it's only a cup of tea. That Linjin can't run far. And the warrior who killed junior brother Beifang and cut off one of your arms is in this village. The two should be together. Want to seek shelter? A Yuanying cultivator in the middle sneered and said. A warrior just bullied my Liuai sect. It's really presumptuous. I will let you see the means of my Liuai sect. He waved his hand. A dark flag suddenly appeared in his hand. Brother, wait a moment. This is the territory of the Jin Dynasty after all. It's not too late to ask clearly before taking action. Another Yuanying cultivator said. Then he stepped forward, stood on the cloud, and looked down. Who is down there? How dare you be an enemy of my Liuai sect? The voice of the Yuanying cultivator contained spiritual power, rolling like thunder, and transmitted to the mountains and fields below. This is the Jin Dynasty. What is your Liuai sect? Sudan walked out of the room, looked up at the many cultivators in the sky, and shouted coldly. This book has been updated recently in @ Update. This shout was originally ordinary, but when the sound was transmitted to the sky, it was like a long knife formed by the sound, slashing in the ears of everyone in the sky. Suddenly, every cultivator's eardrum was broken, the ear canal was bleeding, and they hugged their heads in pain. Even the clouds could not be stable. Only the 3 Yuanying cultivators in front could resist, but their faces still changed drastically. What kind of martial arts is this? This true essence is so condensed. Retreat quickly. If he roars again, we disciples can't stand it. The 3 Yuanying cultivators waved their hands at the same time. Retreat, retreat, retreat. Wow. Suddenly, the dark clouds in the sky retreated rapidly, retreating hundreds of meters away before stopping. This warrior is extraordinary. The true essence condensed into a knife. So terrifying. Could it be a martial saint? In their hearts. Among warriors, only the martial saint needs to be taken seriously. But when did the Jin Dynasty have martial saints so young? The many cultivators of the Xian sect calmed down, and then looked at this place again, wondering. In the village, Master Niu's family, Suking and Qin Liuniang, and even Linjin and Xiaobei who followed them all saw that when Sudan asked a question, the many cultivators of the Xian sect retreated quickly, as if they wanted to turn around and run away. They were all stunned. Which lord of the Jin Dynasty is below? Please tell me your name. The leading Xian sect Yuanying cultivator shouted, and the voice rolled in. Want to know who I am? Are you worthy? Sudan sneered, and this time his voice still resounded throughout the sky. What an arrogant boy. Then I will learn from your skill. The Yuanying cultivator laughed in anger, and made a move with his palm. Bang! The pitch black flag suddenly spread out, and gusts of black wind gathered. The black wind whistled like 100 ghosts gathered. The Yuanying cultivator waved the flag, and the pitch black wind swept towards the mountain village. Chapter 128 Shifeng Pavilion, Sudan. The overwhelming black wind swept down, enveloping the entire mountain village. All the men, women, and children in the village were in a panic. This scene was like the sky falling, looking for death. In this boundless black wind, a cold shout suddenly came out. The cold shout was not loud, but everyone heard it clearly. Then, in the black wind, a golden dragon shadow rose across the sky, wrapped in a layer of golden monstrous light, sweeping across the sky with great dominance, suppressing the endless black wind that covered the sky and the sun in an instant, and then rushed straight to the front of the Yuanying cultivator. The dragon shadow emitting magnificent golden light instantly penetrated the black flag. Snap! The black flag cracked with a sound. Then, the dragon shadow penetrated the chest of the Yuanying cultivator without any pause. Bang! The domineering palm force easily tore the body of the nascent soul cultivator, and a blood mist erupted. In the blood mist, a palm-sized translucent nascent soul flew out, and the little face, that was the same as the previous nascent soul cultivator, was full of fear. Retreat, retreat quickly, the nascent soul shouted. Swish! The Xian sect disciples who saw this scene were also frightened. The nascent soul cultivators could not take a palm strike from others. They were like their mouths were blocked, and could not say a word. This time they retreated directly to several miles away, and stopped, only when they saw that there was no pursuit. The cultivator, who was left with only the nascent soul, repeatedly performed spells, and black light was drawn out from the sky and earth, wrapping around him. Brother, what should we do now? The other two nascent soul cultivators looked at the little nascent soul and said anxiously, what else can we do? Go up and die. The nascent soul roared, and his little face was full of palpitations. His physical body was destroyed just like that. What kind of warrior is this? This is too scary. Let's wait for Elder Zao to come. The elder should be here soon. Hundreds of miles away from this mountain village, a team of immortal cultivators drove their magic weapons and advanced rapidly. The leader was wearing a brocade white robe. He looked like a middle-aged man, tall and straight, with a pair of cold eyes looking forward. From time to time, a trace of blood appeared on his face, and his face was very cold. He was Zaok, one of the 3 great elders of the Sixian sect. It's just in front. I can sense that the half of the key is in front. Linjin, if you were more generous and gave me so many opportunities, why would it come to this? Who knows? I would like to accept you as an inner disciple, but unfortunately, where do you think you can escape to? Can the Jin Dynasty protect you? Ridiculous. Buzz. A slight vibration came from his arms. Zaok took out a token of the elder of the Sixian sect. Zifeng, what's the matter? Have you caught that evil disciple? He just opened his mouth. Elder, please come quickly. Linjin has been found, but he is in some trouble. A voice came from the token. Okay, wait for me. Before the voice in the token finished, Zaok put away the voice transmission token, and a rare light burst out from his cold eyes. Linjin, I want to see how you escape this time. Swish. The figure of this elder Zao instantly turned into a bloodlight, and directly left the team behind, and disappeared into the horizon. The speed of the immortal cultivators in the transformation stage was so fast, that they shuttled between heaven and earth, breaking through the air. In a few breaths, a black light fell on the place where the disciples of the Sixian sect gathered. Elder Zao. For a moment, all the disciples of the Sixian sect looked at the white robe with excitement, and the Yuanian cultivators all saluted respectfully. Elder Zao's eyebrows flashed with a faint bloodlight, and his eyes were faintly bloodshot. At this moment, he looked over excitedly. Zifeng, huh? Where is Zifeng? He glanced around, and didn't find the disciple who sent him the voice transmission, and couldn't help but wonder. At this time, a palm-sized stream of light flashed between the figures in front of him, and suddenly appeared in front of him. Elder, I'm here. The Zifeng monk, who was only in the nascent soul stage, shouted. What's wrong with you? Zaok frowned and looked at the small nascent soul in front of him. Elder, I don't know what kind of Baka Linjin found. He is very powerful and easily destroyed my disciple's body. Zifeng Lion said. Linjin is in the mountain village a few miles away at the moment. Baka? A divine transformation cultivator? Zaok frowned. If it was another divine transformation cultivator who intervened, it would be troublesome. No, not a cultivator, but a warrior. Zifeng Yuanying Lion said. Warrior? Can a warrior hurt your body? Zaok looked at Zifeng Yuanying with dissatisfaction. I usually tell you to practice more. You don't listen. Today you are defeated by a warrior. It's shameful. He scolded, and Zifeng dared not speak. However, there shouldn't be many warriors who can hurt you. If it's the martial saint of the Wei Dynasty, it's possible, but this Jin Dynasty. Zaok frowned. Do you know who it is? I don't know. He didn't report his name. Zifeng Lion whispered. A warrior dares to interfere in my affairs? Zaok smiled coldly. Come on, follow me to meet this warrior. Swish. The group flew towards the mountain village again. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. In the mountain village, Sudong was standing in the yard. When he looked up, he saw the dark clouds gradually approaching, and at a glance he saw a figure in a white robe standing on the cloud. It's Elder Zao. Linjin's face was solemn, and anger rose in his eyes. This Elder Zao broke through to the spiritual transformation realm 200 years ago. In the Sixian sect, his strength is extraordinary. It is said that the sect leader gives him some points. He is also very good at controlling ghosts, in water, and magic weapons. His methods are sinister and vicious. Benefactor, you. He is just a mid-stage spiritual transformation cultivator, and he dares to come to my Jin Dynasty to make trouble. Sudong laughed. Do you think there is no one in my Jin Dynasty? All forces are very wary of spiritual transformation cultivators, because spiritual transformation cultivators have many methods. Once they make enemies, the revenge is also terrible. Naturally, some things are turned a blind eye. Suking said. Strength is above the law. It can't be that, just because a spiritual transformation cultivator killed a mortal, the big forces send Mahayana cultivators to hunt him down. Wow. In the sky, Zaok stood on the clouds, wearing a white robe, with a faint bloodlight behind him rising and falling, covering half of the clouds, like a burning cloud. He looked down, and saw Jin at a glance. There was a little more smile in his eyes. The divine transformation cultivator, just standing there, makes people feel like a huge mountain is pressing down on them, making it hard to breathe. Ordinary people in the mountain village just feel their legs go weak, and can't help but kneel down. My friend, I'm Zaok from the Sixian sect. I'm here today, to arrest the evil disciples who are colluding with monsters. Can you please help me? Elder Zao's voice was cold, and resounding throughout the sky. Zaok, Sudong said. Do you know that this is the territory of my Jin Dynasty? Zaok smiled, and a flash of blood flashed in his cold eyes. I know, so what? Since you know, it's still not too late for you to take your people back to your Sixian sect now. Sudong said with a smile. Haha. Zaok looked down and carefully examined Sudong's face. He said in a wanton and cold voice, I really don't know where you, a warrior, get the courage to talk to me like this. Well, for today's matter, I must take that evil disciple away. If you give him to me, I won't mind it, and will give you a generous gift. How about it? You should know that I, the Sixian sect, have never suffered any loss wherever I go. After all, this is the Jin Dynasty. After all, it is the territory protected by Prime Minister Lee. It is better to solve it peacefully, if it can be solved peacefully. Zaok was also afraid. Give the person to you? Impossible. Sudong shook his head directly. Zaok was immediately angry, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He stared coldly at the young man below. Who are you? Zaok's voice rolled like thunder, and the power of the god transformation period rolled up, and a layer of thick bloodlight spread throughout the Kangsang, with overwhelming power. Shifen Pavilion, Sudong. Sudong stood in the courtyard, and said to the dark disciples of the Sixian sect in the sky, is it him? Others had never heard of this name, but Su King's eyes lit up. Qin Liu Niang next to him immediately looked over in confusion. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129 Sixian Heavy Water. Thanks to the great Sephora Japonica tree for the 10,000 starting coins, and thank you for your monthly tickets. Thank you. Sister Su, what is Shifen Pavilion? Qin Liu Niang asked in confusion. Although her grandmother doted on her, she never told her about Shifen Pavilion. Suking looked at Sudong next to her, and explained in a low voice, Shifen Pavilion is the top powerful organization in the Jin Dynasty court. It was established to kill monsters and eradicate evil cultivators. Moreover, only those with the power of transformation can enter Shifen Pavilion. Transformation? Qin Liu Niang and others were shocked. Of course, your elder brother Su is different. Elder brother Su is a warrior at the level of martial honor and has the power of transformation. It is said that he has killed a cultivator of transformation, so he was specially recruited into Shifen Pavilion. He is the first honorable person in Shifen Pavilion in hundreds of years. Suking explained. She also heard these from the elders of King Shan Sword sect. So powerful. Now, whether it was Lin Jin and Qin Liu Niang, everyone felt a surge of confidence in their hearts. Looking at the back of the young man in front. Although Master Niu and the others didn't understand what it represented, they felt it was very strong, and stared blankly upward. Sudong, I've heard of you. It's really admirable for a warrior to have such fighting power. Zaok, who was above, smiled again. But you don't think that all the immortals who have reached the level of transformation are just average? If you can kill an immortal, you may not be invincible at this level. For the sake of your Jin Dynasty Shifen Pavilion, I will give Lin Jin and the other two to me. The Liuine sect will all remember your Shifen Pavilion, and will reward you handsomely in the future, Zaok said with a smile. Although Sudan joined the Shifen Pavilion, he was not important enough for him to pay attention to. However, the power behind the Shifen Pavilion was different. It was a real behemoth. On the territory of the Jin Dynasty, he would not fight if he could. It didn't matter if he admitted to being a coward. You said it's impossible, but you're still talking nonsense. Sudang shook his head coldly. Sudang, the woman next to Lin Jin is a monster. You, Shifen Pavilion, kill monsters and eliminate monsters, but you just watch the monsters, and don't kill them. Zaok's face turned cold, and he shouted angrily. HMPH, how can you say how I do things? Sudang sneered. Zaok was immediately angry. This Sudang didn't take him seriously at all. Very good, I haven't taken action for a long time. Today I will take action and let you see the methods of the immortal cultivators. He was determined to get Lin Jin today. There was no way he would give in. Zaok sneered and thrust his hand downwards. A rich dark green spiritual power suddenly entangled and condensed in the air and instantly turned into a green ghost hand, grabbing Lin Jin below. Come on. Sudang laughed loudly and suddenly waved his hand. A golden dragon shadow rose into the sky and flew out of his hand in an instant. This dragon shadow was formed by the huge true essence. Above the dragon shadow, there was a shocking true essence fluctuation, which squeezed the surrounding air domineeringly, generating rolling air waves, and turned into a surging golden light pressing towards the blue ghost hand in the sky. A warrior really doesn't know the height of the sky and the depth of the earth. Zaok sneered. Look, I will control you in a while, what else can I say? Zaok's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Facing the golden dragon shadow, he waved his hand again, and the surging spiritual power quickly poured into the blue ghost hand. The blue thick ghost hand and the golden dragon shadow collided in an instant. At the moment of collision, the surrounding light seemed to be squeezed into darkness. Under the rapid and violent collision, the air belt was squeezed out in an instant, forming a circle of violent air waves, and bursts of roaring sounds were heard. The collision of true essence and spiritual power caused violent fluctuations to spread. In this collision, the dragon shadow swung by Sudang seemed to be slightly suppressed by the green ghost hand. With a boom, the golden dragon shadow exploded, and the green ghost hand slowly drifted away. This scene alone made Zaok's face look disdainful. He sneered and looked down at the figure below. Wow. Take another move from me. He waved his palm again, and a stream of blue-black water gushed out from his palm. As soon as the water appeared, it surged against the wind and quickly became a stream-like water column, splashing circles of ripples. It went straight down to the mountain village below. The heavy water of the Sixian sect is the most famous. Benefactor, be careful. Lin Jin saw the water flow appear. His face changed slightly, and he even warned. What a terrible method, summoning a river at will. The villagers in the mountain village looked up at the river rising from the sky, shocked and excited. They had never seen such a scene even in their dreams. The gods are fighting. The gods are fighting. They are all immortals Taoism. They were very excited, and Sudang also looked up. Looking at the pouring water column, Sudang had also heard of the Sixian heavy water, which was refined by a strange water flow. It is better to say that it is a magic weapon than a water flow. The ritual of this magic weapon is naturally extraordinary. Go. Sudang waved his palm, and a long sword with 3 colors of green, red, and black light suddenly rose into the sky. The long sword was still slender when it burst out, but in the air, it quickly grew larger, and turned into a giant long sword of 13 meters long. The long sword was sharp, and the 3 colors of light crisscrossed and collided with the Sixian heavy water in the air. Wow. Suddenly, the heavy water, which was originally unimaginably dense, was directly cut open by the huge longsword. Countless ripples splashed, and the extremely sharp longsword directly split the heavy water stream. It chopped straight towards Zaok's body. There is indeed something. Zaok looked at the flying longsword, his eyes flashing with coldness. This longsword of Sudang was indeed extraordinary. Suppress it for me. Zaok raised his hand and spread his 5 fingers, pressing hard towards the sky below. Suddenly, a series of green spiritual seals swept down from the sky and fell into the surging heavy water. For a moment, the water column that was originally just rushing down suddenly turned into a floating water flow. A series of water flows splashed up from it and wrapped around Sudang's broken tooth knife. Wow. 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 The broken tooth knife chopped left and right in it, but the heavy water flow continued endlessly. The water flowed even more when the sword was pulled out to cut it. In a blink of an eye, Sudang's long sword was actually trapped in the heavy water, and it didn't even move for a moment. Ah, brother Su's sword is trapped. Qin Liu Niang's face changed slightly. Zayok is good at controlling heavy water. Heavy water is naturally suitable for suppressing and confining. Lin Jin also looked unhappy. This battle is obviously not favorable to Sudang at this moment. This book has been updated recently in Update. Only Su King chuckled. Don't worry, using magic weapons to fight against enemies is the means of cultivators. Don't forget that brother Su is a warrior. Warriors are best at close combat. Your brother Su hasn't exerted his strength yet. After she finished speaking, everyone looked at Sudang and found that the latter was calm and composed, without any anxiety. Only then did they breathe a sigh of relief. However, this Zayok does have some means. Su King thought to herself. But this word was not said out loud. Zayok could rise to become one of the 3 elders in the 6 Yin sect, and his strength should not be underestimated. Haha, did you see that? The warrior's sword was trapped by the elder. Zifeng, a cultivator with only the nascent soul left, laughed happily. Dare to meddle in the affairs of our 6 Yin sect. This time, the Jin Dynasty Shifen Pavilion is embarrassed. Many 6 Yin sect disciples laughed. Sudang's long sword is extraordinary. If ordinary immortal cultivators are careless, they will really fall into his trap. It seems that Sudang killed the immortal cultivator with this long sword. Zayok also smiled. He looked down at Sudang below coldly. The elder is extraordinary. Sudang can't take advantage of him at all. The other cultivators immediately smiled coquettishly. I will use heavy water to trap his long sword, drive the ghost corpse to fight him, and then take the opportunity to catch Lin Jin, and today's matter will be accomplished. Zayok thought to himself that catching Lin Jin was his real purpose. Boom. With a wave of his hand, a tall black figure flew out of his sleeve and turned into a tall corpse with extremely heavy yin ki in the blink of an eye. The corpse had a green face and fangs, and was wrapped in a rolling yin wind. It instantly rushed towards Sudang below. This yin corpse was powerful, and might also be at the level of Shenhua. I won't play with you anymore. Sudang, standing in the yard, looked at the falling corpse calmly. A layer of golden light suddenly covered his eyes. Performance mode, start. Swish. Like a flash of lightning, Sudang's figure rushed up in an instant. Chapter 133 Heads and 6 Arms. The lightning was so fast that it flew to the front of the falling corpse in an instant. Sudang's palm flashed with golden light, containing the surging true essence of the most young and the most rigid, and slapped the head of the corpse fiercely. Bang. Without any obstruction, just like smashing a watermelon, the green-faced and fanged head of the corpse was directly smashed into pieces and fell straight to the ground. The yin corpse in the spirit transformation stage was killed with one palm. Zayok's face changed slightly. He originally wanted to rely on this yin corpse to entangle Sudang, but it was destroyed in one encounter. That was the yin corpse of the spirit transformation that he had cultivated for a long time. Lin Jin and others below watching Sudang turn into a golden lightning and rush up, destroying the head of the yin corpse with one palm. Awesome. Everyone showed surprise and surprise. Warriors are good at close combat. This statement is not exaggerated. Swish. With a flash of lightning, Sudang's figure has already shot in front of Zayok. Slap casually. Roar. A golden dragon shadow surged out from his palm. The golden dragon shadow was entangled with surging true energy, emitting a heart-pounding and domineering fluctuation, and it circled straight towards Zayok. The same trick. Will it work if I use it twice? Zayok sneered. This palm print. The power is just so-so, not even as strong as his palm. Zayok also casually slapped out a palm, and a deep green ghost handprint suddenly condensed and slapped towards Sudang. Bang. The two palm prints collided again, but unlike the last time, the golden dragon shadow swirled and rose, bursting out fierce true energy. The power was several times stronger than before. When the two collided with each other, the green palm print was as if it was made of paper and was easily broken. Not good. 6 in heavy water protects the body. Zayok's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly urged the floating 6 in heavy water below. He saw streams of water rising rapidly and entangled around Zayok. At the same time, the latter's body retreated rapidly. Many 6 sect disciples beside him were originally standing quite close to flatter Zayok, but at this moment Zayok retreated instantly. Bang! The golden dragon shadow palm power only shook out an aftermath, and then a giant and cultivator next to him burst his chest, spitting blood and flying backwards. The golden dragon shadow palm power did not stop at all, and rushed into the heavy water tyrannically. The extremely yang and strong true essence immediately caused the 6 in heavy water to stir up countless ripples, and the heavy water broke layer by layer and splashed. In fact, Sudong's extremely yang and strong true essence itself restrained the 6 in heavy water, which was very yin. In addition, Sudong's performance mode was turned on at this moment, and his power suddenly increased several times. The power was naturally terrifying. Boom. A palm smashed the overflowing 6 in heavy water, and at the same time, forced Zayok to use Taoism to block it. However, his 6 in magic affected the dragon subduing palm power, and naturally weakened it by several layers. How could it be? I was clearly at a disadvantage just now. How could I suddenly become so strong? Zayok's face suddenly changed. He waved his palm, and played a series of magic formulas, to block Sudong's palm power from approaching. But Sudong waved dozens of palms in succession. Boom boom boom. Finally, the 6 in heavy water was completely blasted away. There was no more obstacle in front of Zayok. A dragon shadow circled out and instantly brushed Zayok's chest. But, the chest part of Zayok's white robe instantly turned into a silver white armor. The palm power brushed past, sparks flew. But then another palm power fell directly on his chest. Bang. This time, the domineering palm power immediately penetrated through the armor, and penetrated into his body. Zayok's face turned pale, and he felt that his internal organs were about to break. Swish. He retreated directly hundreds of years away. Only then did he escape Sudong's pursuit. Fortunately, he was a cultivator in the god transformation stage, and his nascent soul guarded his Dantian. When his body was damaged, he immediately had strong spiritual power circulating around his body to repair the damaged organs. The 6 insect cultivators beside him had already retreated frantically. The palm power of the warrior was too domineering. More than a dozen giant and cultivators were injured and fell from the sky. It's terrible. This Sudong is really terrible. A warrior, so strong. It is said that warriors are good at close combat, but it turns out that powerful warriors are so strong in close combat. The disciples of the 6 sect were all trembling with fear, and those cultivators whose arms were broken by Sudong were full of fear. If the latter wanted to kill them, they really didn't even have a chance to blink. This Sudong, there is something strange. Zayok retreated hundreds of meters, and then stopped to look at Sudong, who dropped the tooth-breaking knife in his hand in the distance, and his eyes twitched slightly. At the beginning, he was at a disadvantage, but when he got close, his strength suddenly increased. Did he use some secret method? Zayok thought to himself. At the same time, he was even more frightened. A warrior who was only in his 20s was so strong, so powerful. Brother Sudong is so powerful. Qin Liu Niang and others below all had fiery eyes, looking up at the figure in the sky. He could crush Zayok's 6 in heavy water head on, and even forced the latter to such a point. This strength was really terrifying. If it was 2 months ago, my spiritual level had not broken through. My skills had not improved at all. It might be a little troublesome to deal with Zayok, but now. Sudong looked at Zayok. Not to mention that my true essence restrained him. In performance mode, my skills crushed him. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. In the past, the skills just reached the passing line of the middle stage of the spirit transformation in performance mode. But now, it has far exceeded this passing line. Besides, he hasn't learned my best swordsmanship yet. Sudong sneered at Zayok in front of him. Very confident. In front of so many disciples, Zayok was very angry. Just because the true essence attribute happens to restrain me, you think you can beat me? Zayok roared. He was able to rise in the 6th sect, so naturally there were many ceremonials. Wow, a layer of violent and cold spiritual power suddenly surged out of Zaok's body. The cold spiritual power, like black snakes, coiled around Zaok's upper body and then formed a cold spiritual power sphere. The surface of the spiritual power sphere was vibrated with muffled sounds, and then in the eyes of many surprised people, the cold spiritual power suddenly shattered. 3 heads and 6 arms. Zaok roared fiercely. The spiritual power envelope dissipated, and the body wrapped in silver white armor was seen rising several feet again. 2 arms appeared on the left and right sides of the upper body, and 2 heads appeared on the left and right sides of the shoulders. The 2 heads were disheveled. Their cold eyes looked at Sudang. Boom. Among the 6 arms, 2 pairs of arms were thicker, like small tree stumps, full of explosive power. With a casual swing, there was a burst of explosion. That is, 3 heads and 6 arms, the legendary 3 heads and 6 arms. The people below looked at Zaok's strange appearance above. Some were afraid, some admired him. They had only heard of this 3-headed and 6-armed magic in storytelling. Taoist body training method? I didn't expect that Zaok also practiced this 3-headed and 6-armed magical power. Suking below changed his face slightly. Most of the immortal cultivators are good at controlling magic weapons to fight against the enemy, but some also take the route of body training. 3 heads and 6 arms is one of the famous Taoist body training methods, but it is said that the training process is extremely difficult. I didn't expect that Zaok would master it. Sudang, you deserve to die. Zaok roared, and all 3 heads roared at the same time. Boom. His body suddenly turned into a silver light and rushed towards Sudang like a cannonball. A series of circular waves of air were stirred up. Zaok's speed and physical strength were far superior to the previous ones. I'm afraid he was more terrifying than ordinary transformed monsters. 3 heads and 6 arms? Sudang didn't blink, and the broken tooth knife in his hand had already been swung out. A knife pattern like a golden water wave instantly rippled out. Sword soul record, knife mark. The clouds in the sky were instantly pierced, and the golden knife light ripples lightly fell on Zaok's thick arm. Puff, a blood mark appeared immediately. Chapter 131, Flying Knife Again. Boom. Zaok's 3-headed 6-armed body easily blocked the knife light, and the knife light only left a blood mark on his arm, which recovered in an instant. This knife light is very powerful, but it can't break my 3-headed 6-armed body. Sudang, you lose. Zaok's 3 heads laughed wildly at the same time, and rushed towards Sudang fiercely. At the same time, Zaok's 3-headed 6-armed body also burst out with yin energy. The temperature in the whole sky dropped sharply because of this yin energy, and 6 extremely terrifying fist shadows burst out from it. This terrifying power made Suking and others below look at the figure in the sky with concern. The combat power at the level of transformation of the spirit really needs them to look up. I don't know if Brother Su can take on Zaok's attack. Qin Liu Niang looked at the young man in the sky with concern. Under Zaok's violent yin energy, Sudang's body looked thin. Swish. Among the many eyes, Sudang's eyes were also slightly focused. With a wave of his hand, the long knife in his hand suddenly burst out with sharp blade light, slashing towards Zaok who was rushing towards him. At this moment, his left hand suddenly put his 2 fingers together, and an extremely vast spiritual energy quickly gathered at his fingertips. In a short moment, this vast spiritual energy turned into a 3-inch golden flying knife. This golden flying knife was naturally Sudang's condensed dream sword, but with a breakthrough of his spiritual level, this dream sword also underwent many changes. The golden light was different from the previous dazzling brilliance, but it was more restrained and silent. After the 3-inch flying knife appeared, Sudang did not stop the spiritual energy infusion immediately, but compressed all the majestic spiritual energy in his body into this small 3-inch golden light. But, at the fingertips of his left hand, the space plane was trembling, but the movement was very small, and compared with the various lights and shadows in the air at this moment, it was indeed not noticeable. The 3-inch golden light condensed to the extreme. Sudang also took a deep breath, and then his eyes became sharp in an instant. The knife light in his right hand suddenly retracted, and the flying knife at the fingertips of his left hand was lightly thrown out. Whoosh. The golden flying knife seemed much smaller than the previous knife light, showing a golden line that penetrated the space. From a distance, it seemed that the light could not stay on this flying knife, so in the eyes of others, it only left a black line in the sky. The flying knife was very fast. It appeared in front of Zaok in almost the blink of an eye, and then without the slightest hesitation, it went straight to his Dantian. Flying knife. Zaok saw this, and a sneer flashed across his face. He waved one of his 6 arms to resist. In his expectation, he should be able to block this kind of flying knife easily. Puff. But the flying knife easily penetrated that arm, and a burst of blood flew out. How is it possible? Zaok felt a pain in his arm and panicked. There was an expression of disbelief in his eyes, and he hurriedly urged the remaining 5 arms to block the flying knife. Puff puff puff. The flying knife easily penetrated the 5 arms. At this time, the yin energy in the sky disappeared, and the terrible spiritual power that had originally erupted from Zaok also disappeared completely at this moment. But in Zaok's eyes, he was extremely horrified. He seemed to see the god of death coming. This flying knife is the god of death that wants his life. I can't stop it. I can't stop it. Zaok regretted it very much at this moment. He rose from the land of chaos and grew up all the way. He killed countless people and robbed treasures, but he usually took action only when he was extremely sure. Today, facing Sudong, he was careless. What kind of flying knife is this? Exclamation mark. Forget it. I can only abandon this flesh. Zaok sighed lightly, and a palm-sized green yuanying suddenly flew out of his mouth. At this time, the flying knife flashed. Just penetrated his Dantian purple mansion. My storage bag. Zaok's yuanying also looked at the storage bag hanging on the waist of his body armor. Whoosh, a figure appeared even faster beside his body, and took the storage bag in his hand. Sudong. Zaok looked at the figure. His eyes were bloodshot, but he could do nothing. Wow, the yin energy in the sky dissipated, and Zaok's body fell straight down from the sky. The disciples of the 6 yin sect around him were all silent and dumbfounded, watching the scene in the field. In a flash, the situation was reversed, and their elder Zao was defeated. We won. Then Zaok, give up your body. Below, Suking and others showed joy on their faces, and Lin Jin was even more excited. Zaok came here to deal with him. This end was enough to make him happy. Let's go. Zaok's nascent soul was surrounded by a faint green light. After all, he was a god-transforming cultivator, and a single nascent soul also exuded a terrible power. He waved his hand, and was about to call on many disciples to leave. In today's battle, he was defeated. He was defeated by a warrior. Want to leave? Sudong smiled upon seeing this, and in a flash, he instantly appeared in front of Zaok's yuanying. Wow. The disciples of the 6 yin sect surrounding him dispersed and retreated instantly when they saw Sudong. They were all terrified. What do you mean? Could it be that Master Su wants to kill me? I'm the elder of the 6 yin sect. If something happens to me in the territory of the Jin Dynasty, I'm afraid that your 10 Directions Pavilion will have a hard time explaining it. Zaok's green yuanying sneered and looked at Sudong unscrupulously. In the past, the Jin Dynasty court was quite friendly to these immortal cultivation forces around the territory. 6 yin sect? Sudong's eyes swept over the 6 yin sect disciples who were looking at him tremblingly. I just want you 6 yin sect disciples to remember that no matter who dares to come to the territory of the Jin Dynasty to cause trouble, you must be prepared to die. You. Zaok's little yuanying widened his eyes and was about to speak. A palm suddenly appeared in front of him, and the words that were on his lips were swallowed. Sudong grabbed Zaok's nascent soul in his hand. Zaok was really panicked. Master Su, spare me, this time it's my fault. I shouldn't have come to the Jin Dynasty. The little nascent soul was still struggling in Sudong's palm. Puff. This book has been updated recently in @ Update. Sudong exerted force on his palm, and the nascent soul suddenly expanded to the extreme like an inflated balloon, and then broke in an instant. Sudong. The nascent soul broke, and Zaok's last roar could be heard. This scene was also seen by the disciples of the 6 yin sect, and they were all terrified. He was dead. Their elder who had transformed into a spirit, just died like this. Sudong's eyes flashed with cold light, and he looked at these immortal cultivators. Immediately, the disciples of the 6yin sect knelt down in the clouds. Master Su, spare me. Please spare me. Sudong swept his eyes and immediately saw that several of them had committed serious sins and waved his hand. Puff. The golden blade passed by and several more heads fell to the ground. Dead. Senior brother Cheng is dead. Junior brother Wang is also dead. Next, is it my turn? They were extremely terrified. They were afraid that Sudong would really go on a killing spree. Whoosh. But when they turned around, Sudong ignored them and turned around and fell to the ground. Gone. Did he let us go? They were surprised, but hesitant, and did not dare to get up and run. In the sky, many immortal cultivators knelt down. This scene opened the eyes of the residents of this small mountain village. Suking and others were also full of surprise, but this result was of course what they hoped for. Lin Jin was even more grateful in his heart. As long as Zaok was not dead, he would never have peace. This battle was destined to alarm the entire Jin Dynasty. Sudong fell down, holding Zaok's storage bag in his hand. The storage bag looked luxurious and extraordinary, and was put into his own storage bag by Sudong. TSK, a treasure of a divine transformation cultivator. Brother Sudong, you have to treat us. Qin Liu Niang said with a happy smile. Dan Qi is not feeling well, so I will only update once today. Sorry everyone. Chapter 132 Bronze Medal. Thanks to the book friend with the last number 888 for the reward. When we go to Ning'an County together, I will naturally treat you to a meal at the best restaurant. Sudong chuckled. That's about right. Qin Liu Niang's pretty face suddenly smiled even more. We are done here. Let's go. Lin Jin, you two have been very tired along the way. Why don't we go to Ning'an County to have a good meal together? Sudong suggested, smiling and inviting Lin Jin and the others. Lin Jin and Xiaobei looked at each other. Both of them were grateful, and then Lin Jin clasped his fists towards Sudong. Everything is up to you, my benefactor. I heard from a sister that the scenery in Ning'an County is also nice, but unfortunately there is a big monster occupying the mountains and fields, which is very harmful. Qin Liu Niang also said. She was talking about the old black wind monster. That monster is dead. Suking smiled, glanced at Sudong, and then smiled with Qin Liu Niang. It was killed by your elder brother Su. She had also heard about Sudong's rise from the elders of the sect. Such an inspiring example of killing monsters for humans would naturally be widely publicized by the court. Wow. Suddenly, Qin Liu Niang looked at Sudong with admiration in her eyes. Master Niu. Sudong looked at the owner of the Niu family, his family, and many servants. This time I rested here for a day, and you caused such a big disturbance. You should accept this silver. Also give some subsidies to the villagers and other households in the village who were affected. Sudong said, and threw out a 500 teal silver note, and the silver note flew automatically into Master Niu's hands. How can this be done? The one you killed was a bad guy, a benefactor of my Niu family. This money. Master Niu's face flushed, and he wanted to return the silver note to Sudong. Keep it. That's the compensation that Liuan sect should give you. Sudong smiled. He turned to look at Suking, Qin Liu Niang and Lin Jin. Let's go. All of a sudden, the five of them flew into the air. Although Xiaobei's cultivation was low, he was a transformed demon after all, so he could still use the wind control technique. All of a sudden, all kinds of light and shadows flashed, and 5 figures flew into the sky and flew away. The Niu family looked up. Farewell, sir. They all took the initiative to salute. Dad, that Lord Su, isn't he a cultivator? He's so powerful. Is he a senior official in our court? Miss Niu walked to Master Niu and asked blankly, but her eyes never left the figure in the sky. Yes, that Lord Su is a big shot in our court. He's not a cultivator, but he's much more powerful and fair than those cultivators. He smiled, turned around and saw his daughter's admiring eyes, and was immediately choked. Then he continued, my daughter, don't think too much. We are not worthy of Lord Su. Didn't you see the 2 fairies beside him? Dad, what are you talking about? Miss Niu's cheeks suddenly rose 2 red clouds. She glared at Master Niu angrily, and then turned back to her room. Dad is afraid that you will think too much and delay yourself. Master Niu explained. Master, those people from the Sixian sect will not come to our house for revenge again. If you offend the immortal cultivators have many methods. Mrs. Niu leaned close to Master Niu and whispered, "Revenge?" Master Niu sneered and looked up at the sky. In the sky, the Sixian sect disciples who were originally aggressive knelt down. After Sudong left, they hurriedly collected the bodies of their fellow disciples and Zaok's body, and then left without looking back, like dogs that had lost their homes. There was no way they could be as high and mighty as the immortal cultivators. I'm afraid they won't dare to come to our Jin Dynasty in the future. Master Niu smiled, feeling relieved. In the Jin Dynasty, in the residence of Prime Minister Lee was practicing the formation, and suddenly he felt something. Wow. Prime Minister Lee drew his palm towards the void, and many images suddenly appeared in it. The formations he arranged were spread across every village and town in the Jin Dynasty. This statement was not false. Whenever there was a fluctuation of spiritual power or demonic power in the Jindan period, he would notice it. However, he could not monitor the world all the time, and there was a special department to supervise it. But if this fluctuation reached a certain limit, it would attract his attention. For example, if a person was born as an immortal cultivator, he would naturally pay attention to him. The image unfolded, revealing a mountain village scene, in which was the battle scene of Sudong and Zaok. What a powerful palm method. This Sudong, in just 2 months, has made great progress in strength, which is incredible. Prime Minister Lee showed a happy expression, and he valued Sudong very much. Killed? That black line. How did it become a black line? When Zaok used his 3 heads and 6 arms, Li Xiangai was watching with great interest, thinking that Sudong would face a tough battle, but a black line flashed by and penetrated Zaok's Dantian, forcing the latter's nascent soul to escape. That black line was a flying knife. Li Xiangai was shocked. In terms of strength, Sudong is probably ranked in the top 10 of my Shifen pavilion at the moment. It's amazing, really amazing. He smiled happily. Zaok is different from the evil old monk. He has many means and magic weapons, but he was still killed by Sudong. Sudong's strength can be imagined. Rewind the scene. After carefully understanding the cause and effect, when he saw the Liuan sect members showing off their power and taking human lives lightly, Li Xiangai's face also turned cold. Sixian sect. I was polite to you in the past because you haven't caused trouble in my Jin Dynasty. It seems that I have to give you a warning. It just so happens that I have come up with a new spiritual formation. Let's use your Sixian sect to test it. Li Xiangai said to himself coldly. He was gentle and polite to his own people, but he was decisive and never showed mercy to his enemies. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people and so many monsters whose faces changed drastically when they heard the 3 words Li Xiangai. On that day, 9 figures of immortal cultivators flew out of the capital of the Jin Dynasty, each carrying a magic component. They rushed to the Sixian sect. This book was recently updated in Update. After Sudong and his party returned to Ning'an, as the host, Sudong of course warmly entertained the 4 people who were traveling with him. In the largest restaurant in Ning'an County, he invited the 4 people to taste the food flavors of Ning'an. Ning'an County is a city of authentic food, with many snacks that these people who have been practicing in the sect have never tasted. People in the world only think that immortals do not eat worldly things, but they don't know that if a person is allowed to practice in a sect since childhood, his life will be much more boring than that of ordinary people. The scenery on this restaurant is also very beautiful. You can see the scenery of Han River while sitting in the restaurant, listening to the little songs in your ears. There are bustling people on the streets. It really has a unique charm. This is Ning'an. Which county in Ning'an County of the Jin Dynasty did the 4th sister practice in before? After 3 rounds of wine, Qin Liuniang was a little confused, but she thought to herself, Brother Su, thank you for your hospitality. The scenery in Ning'an County is really beautiful, but I also have mission, so I won't stay any longer. After a full meal, Suking was the first to get up and say goodbye. If there is a chance in the future, please invite Brother Su to visit my Kingshan Sword sect and let me also do my part as a host. She smiled. Suking is extremely beautiful. At this moment, the smile is even more like the spring scenery, beautiful beyond words. No problem. Sudong also stood up to see her off. Ah. Let's go now. Well, we cultivators come and go very quickly, otherwise why do people always say that we are like dragons that are hard to find? Qin Liuniang pouted, but she spread her hands helplessly. The group walked out of the restaurant, and the pedestrians around stopped to watch, especially the three women, Suking, Qin Liuniang and Xiao Bei, each with their own characteristics. Together, it is impossible not to attract attention. They were sent all the way to the outside of Ning'an County. Brother Sudong, goodbye. Qin Liuniang waved, reluctant to leave. Ning'an County will not be lost. You can come anytime you want. Sudong looked at her reluctant expression and joked. Brother Su, I'm very grateful for your help this time. Goodbye. Suking also clasped her fists, quite capable of a cultivator. Swish. After the words fell, the two of them left quickly, one flying a sword and the other driving a red silk. Benefactor. Linjin and Xiao Bei stood side by side beside Sudong and bowed, with a sense of husband and wife following each other. I told you not to call me benefactor. Where are you going next? Sudong said with a smile. He looked at the couple in front of him with great satisfaction. Linjin and Xiao Bei, thank you for saving my life. Linjin and Xiao Bei were so grateful that they wanted to kneel down. Sudong waved his hand, and the two could not kneel down. It was just a small matter. You two are not allowed to mention it again. Sudong said with a smile. But Linjin and Xiao Bei were both people who valued friendship and loyalty, and they were even more grateful to Sudong in their hearts. Linjin stepped forward and took out something from his arms. Benefactor's kindness, Xiao Bei and I will never forget it in our lives, but I'm of humble origin, and have no treasures that can catch the eye of the benefactor. I will give you an ordinary thing as a souvenir. Linjin flipped his hand, and took out a strange bronze plate from the storage bag, which was quite simple, and handed it to Sudong. Souvenir? Then I'll take it. Sudong glanced at the bronze plate, and didn't find any spiritual power fluctuations. Then he nodded slightly, and reached out to take it. Chapter 133, A Command Arrow. Seeing Sudong take the bronze plate, he played with it for a while, and then put it away with great interest. Linjin also smiled. My benefactor, Xiao Bei and I are leaving now. Please take care of yourself. Linjin clasped his fists and said. Where are you going? Sudong asked. I have some opportunities, so I have to go to Wu State first. Xiao Bei will come with me. We will never be separated in the future. Linjin said, looking at the quiet girl Xiao Bei, who smiled sweetly when she heard it. Sudong nodded slightly. Then I won't see you off. If you need anything, you can send someone to send a letter to the Ning'an Venerable Mansion. I'm in Ning'an. Yes. Linjin and Xiao Bei were very grateful, bowed and saluted again, then turned around and walked away along the official road. Sudong looked at the backs of the two people, his eyes full of envy. A beautiful partner, free and unfettered in the world. Tut tut, Linjin, how enviable. Sudong secretly said, then turned around and went back to his Ning'an County alone to be his venerable. Linjin and Xiao Bei walked 100 meters. He looked back and watched Sudong return to Ning'an County. I hope you can live 100 years. No. 300 years. You are a warrior. If you are a cultivator, you will definitely live a long life. Xiao Bei prayed in hope. Warriors are destined to have a short lifespan. So what if you are a warrior? You are the most powerful warrior I have ever seen. With your talent, you will definitely become a martial god in the future, break the void, and become an eternal legend. Linjin said. Well, the martial god breaks the void, and even the heaven and earth cannot imprison him. Xiao Bei showed a sweet smile on his cheek. By the way, Lin Lang, can you find the half of the key you gave me? If you don't remind me, the key doesn't look extraordinary at all. Don't worry, you will understand it after you take Zaog's half of the key. Let's go. Wu is the hometown of that Mahayana senior. We took his legacy and also fulfilled his wish. Linjin turned around and took Xiao Bei away along the official road. I don't know when I can see you again. The two figures walked side by side and disappeared on the official road. Sudong returned to the mansion. The Su mansion was very quiet. The servants didn't know that he had left home to kill monsters. The monster he killed was Pengyeo Zuansheng. This time, the harvest of killing monsters was still very rich. At night, in the garden of Sudang's courtyard in the Su mansion. This garden has almost become Sudang's martial arts training ground. Sudang, who changed into a white loose robe, sat cross-legged by the pond in the garden. There were many items around him, most of which were Zaog's things. This elder of the Sixian sect usually bullies the sect, and has accumulated a lot of treasures. There are more than 100 bowl-sized knight shining pearls. Sudang checked Zaog's storage bag, and found that he was still poor. After all, the rewards given by the court are not much, and there is also a limit to the gifts given by officials. But those sects are different. An elder like Zaog who has reached the level of a god is like a local tyrant in the Sixian sect. You can imagine how much wealth he has accumulated. Moreover, these should not be all of Zaog's property. People who have reached the level of a god usually have a backup plan. It is impossible for them to carry all their property with them. In one case, the physical body is destroyed, the storage bag is lost, and the nascent soul escapes. Then there is still capital for a comeback. In the second case, after all, when you are out and in danger, if you are forced to hand over the storage bag, it is not all your treasures. Therefore, in Zaog's storage bag, there was nothing but some gold, silver and jewelry, and there were very few spiritual crystals. There was a long shuttle-shaped magic weapon, but Sudang didn't know how to use it, so he threw it directly into the sacrificial furnace. His current tooth-breaking knife has been extremely refined, and ordinary magic weapons can't resist it at all. It can even tear apart natural magic weapons such as the Sixian heavy water. It is conceivable how terrible it is. Even Zaog thinks that this knife itself can cause harm to the immortal cultivators. This is. Suddenly, Sudang narrowed his eyes. He took out an item from the storage bag. The item was originally carefully placed in an exquisite vermilion brocade box by Zaog. Sudang had glanced at it before and didn't find it. At this moment, he opened it and revealed the item inside. It was actually a bronze plate. The bronze plate has a simple shape, and there is no spiritual power fluctuation overflowing. Such an ordinary sign was actually preserved so carefully by Zaog. This sign, and the souvenir Linjin gave me. Sudang's heart moved, and he took out the souvenir Linjin gave him when he left from his storage bag. As soon as he took it out, he held a bronze sign in each hand, and suddenly the bronze sign, which was originally extremely ordinary, suddenly burst into a bright silver-white light. The silver-white light was unstoppable, and rushed straight into the sky, forming two beams of light. The two beams of light instantly came together. Under Sudang's gaze, a suction force emerged, and the two bronze signs merged together. In an instant, the silver-white light beams disappeared completely, and there was no more ripples. The bronze sign in Sudang's hand had now become an object like a command arrow, with many ancient texts engraved on it, faintly emitting a faint spiritual aura. Not only that, Sudang, who was holding the command arrow, could also sense a slight fluctuation from the command arrow, as if there was a place in the distant world that was calling him to go. Is this a key? Sudang had a feeling. This book was recently updated on #@. Update. Suddenly, everything became clear. What souvenir? Linjin was afraid that I would not accept it if he told me, so he gave it to me on purpose. He knew that, as long as I checked Zaog's storage bag, everything would become clear. Then Zaog couldn't wait to capture Linjin, and half of the reason was probably related to this key. Everything became clear. Treasures belong to those with virtue. Sudang didn't know about the bronze tablet beforehand, but he kindly rescued Linjin and killed Zaog. After going back and forth, he happened to get the two bronze tablets together. This is the opportunity. It is often said that good people will be rewarded, and this is the reward for good people. Sudang carefully sensed the fluctuations from the bronze arrow, even without trying. With his current spiritual energy, he could sense that it was a very distant place, long out of the Jin Dynasty. It should be overseas. Overseas, that is the territory of the Immortal Alliance and many evil cultivators and monsters. Mortals can't survive at all. This bronze arrow should be left by a great cultivator, but it's too far away, so there's no rush to go. Sudang looked at the thing in his hand again, and then put it away. When the opportunity comes, it will be hard to get it, so there's no rush at the moment. Then, Sudang took out a leaf-shaped spiritual essence with rich spiritual power from his arms. As soon as he took it out, rich spiritual energy filled the entire garden, and many sleeping insects woke up and chirped. Now I can improve my strength, but I still have to rely on this enlightenment leaf. It is said that this enlightenment leaf can help improve enlightenment. I wonder if it's that magical. Sudang thought. He has not made any progress in the extreme way in the sword method and the sword soul record recently, and he has been anxious for a long time. Give it a try. Without any hesitation, Sudang held the enlightenment leaf with his fingers and swallowed it directly into his stomach. Suddenly, rich spiritual power spread all over his body. Well, fortunately, the mobile phone boss didn't like this spiritual essence and didn't compete with me. Sudang also paid attention to the mobile phone in his Dantian. After finding that the latter showed no interest at all, he didn't know whether he was disappointed or fortunate. In short, the mobile phone was obviously not interested in this 7th grade spiritual essence, and the medicinal power of the spiritual essence was exerted. For a moment, a feeling of blessing surged in Sudang's heart like a tide. Chapter 134 Wind Space. This feeling is really wonderful. Sudang felt his heart tremble, and the rich spiritual energy was radiating throughout his body. But the most wonderful thing was that under this gathering of spiritual energy, Sudang was instantly aroused by many ideas, and all kinds of inspiration flashed. Swish. Sudang flipped his hands. A long sword appeared in his hand. The blade was slightly narrow, and it flashed a faint cold light under the moonlight. The demon slaying sword. The demon slaying sword is the most handy for practicing swordsmanship on weekdays. Come, practice it. The 2nd level of the sword soul record. Sudang's perception and accumulation of more than 2 months were all displayed at this moment. Under the moonlight, Sudang's figure shuttled by the garden pond. The sword light flashed, sometimes bright, sometimes dim, sometimes full of agility, and sometimes extremely domineering. The sword light was full of endless ideas. He used his sword skills to his heart's content, pure sword skills, without a strong burst of true energy, but Sudang's body was gradually surrounded by sword lights that gathered, and did not disperse. It was the beginning of winter, when the weather was getting colder. It was late at night and the temperature had already started to drop. However, Sudang felt his body was slightly warm. It was not because of his circulation of the true energy, but because of the heat radiating from the knife. Sudang did not know what knife technique he was using, whether it was exquisite or rough, domineering or gentle, whether it was a swing or a straight stab, whether it was an upward or downward strike. Everything was performed with the burst of inspiration in his heart. The more he performed, the more the knife light condensed. Gradually, Sudang's knife technique became more and more unrestrained. It was as if a wild scholar was splashing ink and writing. The knife was the pen, and the knife technique was the ink. It became a freehand chapter. Sudang was completely immersed in this wonderful feeling, immersed in the knife technique, and then the knife technique gradually converged. The hundreds of knives before gradually became simple, focused, and returned to one knife. The original wildness and wantonness slowly became regular, and all ideas were returned to one point. It turned into the 2nd level of the sword soul record. In the past, my swordsmanship was too rigid and too stiff. It should be more freehand, and more in line with my heart. Sudang changed his previous swordsmanship. He swung a sword. Buzz. A blade of light was like a silver white water ripple, gently spreading out, and the water ripples turned into countless ripples in the air, and the ripples spread throughout the entire space several feet around Sudang. The ripples gradually blurred, but the sword patterns around Sudang did not dissipate, and waves covered the world. There are all kinds of mysteries between heaven and earth. These mysteries cannot be felt at ordinary times, but when the realm reaches a certain level, they can be practiced through techniques. Immortal cultivators use spells to control the wind, fire, thunder and lightning between heaven and earth, which is direct control. Warriors are different. Warriors are not recognized by the way of heaven, and there is no way to directly borrow this kind of power of heaven and earth, but the mystery of the truth of heaven and earth is there. When the realm is reached, it can be practiced through swords, guns, sticks, and clubs, and naturally, the power of this mystery is displayed. My sword is the wind. A gentle wind blew around Sudang for several feet. The wind penetrated everywhere. The breeze was gentle. The wind was explosive. It could tear. It could loosen. It could condense. The wind condensed around Sudong, and it did not disperse. Some were lively, some were cold, and they moved as they wished. The second level of the sword soul record, the sword heart. Sudong performed the sword technique as he wished, and then the long sword gradually converged until the last sword did not come out. He naturally retracted the sword, sat cross-legged, and sat there directly. Wow. Although he was sitting there, the wind around him was still there, like an invisible round sphere of wind, covering the area within 4 or 5 feet around him. The level of the sword heart. This is a level of the sword heart. My sword light is a domain. This is the wind, the natural wind of heaven and earth. I can actually mobilize the wind of heaven and earth. Sudong sat cross-legged, and within a few feet around him, he moved his mind, and the gentle wind instantly turned into an extremely condensed sword light, puff, and swept across his stone in the distance, and the stone broke into 2 pieces. This is because I haven't infused the true essence. What if I infuse the true essence? Sudong mobilized the true essence in his body, and the powerful true essence was released. Suddenly, the range of the wind surrounding him began to expand, from 5 feet to 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, 25 feet. The side courtyard of the Su mansion, where servants and slaves lived, some clothes and sheets for changing in the mansion were also hung in this courtyard. Suddenly, the sound of wind rose, and filled the side courtyard. Wow. The sound of the wind startled an old servant who was sleeping in the house. Is it windy? Xiaopang, go out and gather the clothes. Don't scatter them on the ground. He called out to a young servant in the same room. What a strong wind. The young servant also got up, dragged his fat body off the bed, and stepped out of the house. The servant Xiaopang walked out of the house, looking out of the yard with sleepy eyes, but as soon as he saw it clearly, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. The wind was blowing loudly in his ears, but the clothes hanging on the long rope in the yard did not move at all. Not only that, he could not even feel the slightest wind blowing across his skin. The young servant Xiaopang suddenly shuddered, and became much more sober. He even turned around, and called out to the house. Uncle 8, Uncle 8, wake up, come out and see. I asked you to gather the clothes. Why are you shouting? What the hell? The old servant Uncle 8 scolded Disitus feebly, but he still got up. It's really a ghost. The little fat man's voice changed a little. The old servant, Uncle Bay, came out. When he came out, he was also stunned. The wind roared in his ears, but he could not feel the wind blowing through his body at all. The clothes in the yard were also hanging there quietly. There was no strong wind. It's really a ghost. Go back and close the door. Damn it. I'm afraid it's the legendary ghost blowing the wind. The old servant hurriedly pulled Xiaopang back to the house and closed the door. This book has been updated recently in #at. Update. Ghost blowing the wind? Uncle Bay, isn't it ghost blowing the lantern? Ghosts can blow lanterns, but not the wind? Don't read it. Go to bed. The old servant had already crawled into the quilt, even covering his ears tightly. Try not to listen to the wind outside. Oh. The young man Xiaopang also crawled into the quilt, but the young man slept less, and focused all his attention on the wind outside. Suddenly, the whistling wind suddenly disappeared without any signs. It came suddenly, and left even more suddenly, and it was quiet in an instant. Stopped. Stopped suddenly? It's really just a ghost blowing the wind. Maybe the ghost has left. The two muttered to each other. They didn't hear the wind again in the second half of the night, but they didn't sleep well all night. They were not the only ones who heard the wind. Everyone in the Su mansion heard the wind, but they all thought it was just the wind. Except for a few servants, the others covered their heads and slept soundly. The owner of this strange phenomenon, Sudong, was in the back garden with a happy face. I infused my true energy to control the expansion of this wind, which can cover the surrounding area of nearly 45 meters. Within this 45-meter range, every wind can be transformed into a sword light. What a powerful force. Sudong's face was full of joy. The power of a sword light is not strong and scary, but when countless sword lights gather together, the power is incomparable. If I were to face Zaok now, my swordsmanship would be able to fight his Xian heavy water field. Sudong thought, and then said to himself, the second level of the sword soul record, the sword heart level has been completed. I should think of a name. I feel the wind between heaven and earth. Then, let's call this sword the wind space. Sudong smiled. I can comprehend the wind space, and the enlightenment of the dead leaf is indispensable. It's a pity that the effect is over now, and I should thank the Pengyeo Zuansheng, thanks to his spiritual essence. Haha. Well, I'll get familiar with it. Sudong was as happy as a child who got a new toy. Just like this, a night passed. Chapter 135 Invitation. The next day, the sky was bright. The sun shone into Sudong's eyes in the garden. The sun was blazing, and Sudong stopped practicing and stood up. The second level of the sword soul record is completed. Next is the third level of the sword soul. Once the sword soul level is completed, it should be the top swordsmanship before the martial god level. Sudong calculated. In the ancient martial arts secret library, the top martial arts and martial arts are all below the martial god level, and the highest is only above the martial saint. Obviously, this top of the ordinary, is below the martial god. The implication is that the martial god level should be beyond the ordinary, belonging to a new level. I have no idea about the level of my sword soul. Maybe it's because I haven't accumulated enough insights. In the past, I thought about practicing a few more sword techniques, but today, the level of my sword heart is to guide the techniques, to comprehend the mysteries of heaven and earth. Obviously, the mysteries of heaven and earth are the great way. My wind space can only be regarded as the entry of the mysteries of wind. It's still far from the real great way. Wind, well, first study and comprehend the mysteries of wind, comprehend more, and then you may make progress. Sudong thought. Walk out of the garden, and walk to the hall. Sudong smelled the fragrance of food from a distance. Godfather, today's food smells so good. Sudong smiled and stepped into the hall. Donja, come quickly, I was just about to call you. Try the skills of our new chef. This grouse was sent from the house of Liu Junshao the day before yesterday, and it was stewed for half the night. At the 8 immortal table in the hall, Godfather Yangan was lifting a large hub on the table, and the rich fragrance came from it. Sitting next to him was a drooling boy. The young man stood up, and saluted when he saw Sudong. Master. Good morning. Zheng Dashu looked respectful. Well, Dashu, good morning to you too. Eat more. You are growing up now. Sudong rubbed Zheng Dashu's head. He turned to look at his adoptive father Yangan. I remember the previous cook was pretty good. Why did you change? Sudong asked casually. Changlin's family has arranged a marriage. The girl is pretty good. I paid some money. Let the boy go home and get married. Yangan said, while serving food to Sudong. As he spoke, he suddenly looked at Sudong with a hint of expectation. Changlin is the cook of their family. He entered the mansion when he was in Yangji as Huang. Now in his venerable mansion, the old people have a monthly salary of more than 10 taels of silver. Of course, it is considered an ordinary family to start a family. I remember. Changlin is 27 this year. Well, it's time to get married. Adoptive father, remember to give me a share of the money when the time comes. Sudong said. Speaking of marriage, Donja, the Zhang family came to our house the other day through the Zhao connections and said, Zhang's current daughter. Oh, she is also the younger sister of the Zhao concubine and wants to marry you as a concubine. If you agree, you can also become a brother-in-law to the Zhao. This is also the Zhao intention. Yangan suddenly said with great interest, I think the Zhang family's daughter is not bad. She is 17 years old this year and has grown up to be very elegant. She is very famous in Arningen County. Besides, it's just to be a concubine, so I'll take her. Let's not talk about Sudong, just talk about himself. Yangan seems to have taken another concubine recently, a young girl in her 20s. Concubines are just a little higher in status than maids. There is no man who doesn't like women. Yangan was thinking about Sudong. I'd better forget it. But you, Godfather, come, drink more of this grouse soup to nourish your body. With so many concubines, be careful not to get exhausted. Sudong chuckled. I'm very strong. When I was wandering around the world, Yangan's cheerful voice was the only sound in the hall. Sudong and Zengdashu ate while listening to the former talking about the interesting things he encountered and the romantic debts he owed when wandering around the world. Hey, Dashu, don't listen to your grandfather's nonsense. You should be loyal in your feelings. Sudong interrupted. Children of the world, it's fun to take revenge. Dashu, don't learn from your master. Good men are chased by countless beauties. Yangon said. Grandpa, you said it the other way around. Zengdashu blinked. No, when you can be like your master, you will still be chased by countless beauties. Don't learn from your master, and don't give them any chances, which hurts the hearts of those beauties. Yangon teased Sudong. Sudong could only pat his head. He knew that his understanding of feelings was not separated from the people in this world by a generation gap, but a world gap. They couldn't talk to each other at all. The family was together, and after a lively breakfast, Sudong took Zengdashu to practice swordsmanship in the courtyard. Recently, Zengdashu had not asked him about the questions of key training, and it seemed that his training was still in place. Sudong did not ask in detail about the 3 martial arts. Recently, he also made a breakthrough in swordsmanship and had a new understanding. Naturally, he gave Zengdashu a bird's eye view of swordsmanship. At noon, a figure wearing brocade clothes and a high crown on his head walked to the door of the Venerable's mansion. The figure looked up at the plaque in front of the mansion. A gleam of light suddenly emerged in the pair of bright eyes. The Venerable's mansion is indeed magnificent. With a sigh, the voice was crisp and pleasant, but it was a woman's voice. After the words fell, she took a step forward. Stop. The guard in front of the Venerable's mansion stretched out his hand to stop him. Please inform this brother that my old friend Lion Yateo wants to see Venerable Su and has something to ask. This is a visiting card. This figure was Lion Yateo, the Northwest military supervisor and also a cultivator. This book has been recently updated on #@. Update. Sudong was still teaching Zengdashu how to use the sword when the guard came in, hurried to Sudong, and respectfully handed him a visiting card. Sudong opened the visiting card, and a sharp aura in the beautiful handwriting instantly hit him. Lion Yateo? Why is she here? Sudong couldn't help but think of the female immortal cultivator who liked to dress up as a man, and was obviously an immortal cultivator, but joined the army. Please come in. He smiled. In the front hall of the Su mansion, Sudong and Lion Yateo took their seats separately. In the past few months, they had the feeling of killing monsters together, and the two had exchanged many times, so they were quite familiar with each other. The two of them chatted. Outside, Yangon and the servants were watching. By the way, Donja had been thinking about Miss Meng before, and this Miss Lion is also a person, and she is an immortal cultivator. Only an immortal cultivator can be worthy of Donja. Yangon thought to himself. The servants around looked at her, even if they only caught a glimpse, but they all thought that the woman dressed in men's clothes was stunning. How could the temperament of a cultivator be bad? In the hall. In the past, I felt that Suzan's was not an ordinary person, but I didn't expect that in just over a month, Brother Su would become a Sons of Shifen Pavilion. It's really jaw-dropping. Lion Yateo sighed softly. She was really shocked. But Sudong saved her life. She was very grateful in her heart, and she could only feel happy for Sudong. Miss Lion came this time, and the visiting card said that she had something to ask you. I wonder what it is. Sudong got straight to the point and smiled directly. To be honest, Zuns, I'm here on the order of the King of Muzhou to invite Suzans to attend the King's 300th birthday banquet. Lion Yateo smiled. This smile suddenly made her charming, and the whole hall was bright. Sudong's eyes lit up, but he still heard the latter's words clearly. The King of Muzhou's 300th birthday? His heart moved. At 300 years old, this King of Muzhou is still an outstanding cultivator of immortality. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136, King of Muzhou. So that's how it is. Sudong also smiled. Among the many state kings of the Jin Dynasty, the King of Muzhou was considered to be a very remarkable one. He was in charge of Muzhou, Mazhao was located to the west of Kingshao and belonged to the northwest of the Jin Dynasty. The northwest was invaded by monsters all year round. Among them, the monsters Shin'ao army often invaded Mazhao. Of course, the king of Mazhao did a lot to fight against the monsters. Su Dong also admired him very much. The latter was said to have risen from the army, obtained immortal fate, and practiced all the way to the late stage of yuanying. It was also a legendary story. Later, because of his outstanding military exploits, he was named the king of Mazhao by the ancestor of the Jin Dynasty and managed a state. Whether it was a person or an ability to lead troops, Su Dong admired him very much. The king of Mazhao heard that Su Zun was a young hero and became a son of Shifeng Pavilion at the age of 20, but he was very surprised, so he specially asked me to invite the Zun. Be sure to attend his birthday banquet. Lion Yateo smiled. Since the king of Mazhao invited me, how dare I refuse? Su Dong responded directly. In fact, he is a venerable, and his status is not lower than that of a state king. But he is young after all, so he should respect such an old senior. Great, let's go. Nyan Yateo smiled immediately, stood up and walked outside. Immortal cultivators do things at will, and leave when they say they will. Flying back and forth, it really comes and goes without a trace. Let's go. Su Dong nodded. After walking out of the hall, he said to his adoptive father Yangan that he would come back later, and then the two flew away. Yangan and a group of servants were left looking up, watching Su Dong and Lion Yateo flying side by side and disappearing into the sky. What a fairy couple. The women around the adults are all fairies. In the afternoon, the weather was cool. In the land of Mazhao Prefecture, a large number of Northwest Army soldiers were stationed here, including many powerful warriors, and the sect teams gathered here. There was a lot of traffic, so lively. Today is the 300th birthday of the king of Mazhao, and these personal soldiers under his command are on high alert. No monster dares to mess here. Two figures flew from the horizon, chatting and laughing. That's the 7-star flying sedan of the 7 Stars sect. It's powered by spirit crystals, and its speed is comparable to that of an ascent soul cultivator flying at full speed. And it can accommodate dozens of people at the same time. Very luxurious. Lion Yateo pointed to a rectangular flying boat floating in the air in the distance, with a small sedan on it, and said with a smile, although it's not as good as the fairy sedan of the Immortal Alliance, it's not bad, and the price is much cheaper, only more than 20,000 spirit crystals. I haven't bought anything from the Immortal Alliance. Su Dong shook his head and smiled. The Immortal Alliance, the headquarters are all on the overseas fairy islands. Even the Jin Dynasty is just a country supported by the latter in front of the Immortal Alliance. In the eyes of the Immortal Alliance, they only value immortals, not warriors. It stands to reason that all immortals who have transformed into gods can receive an invitation from the Immortal Alliance and be given an Immortal Alliance token, and many treasures in the Immortal Alliance are sold to the outside world. Su Dong also has the strength of a divine cultivator, but he didn't get this treatment, and he didn't care. I'm a warrior. Even if I buy a magic weapon, I cannot use it. Su Dong shrugged. Then I will give you a flying sedan someday. Although it cannot match your flying speed, it is also very convenient. It can be activated with a spirit crystal, and is easy to control. Lion Yateo said generously. Su Dong shook his head and was about to refuse, but the woman beside him slightly accelerated and left him with her back, not giving him a chance to refuse. The two landed on the ground. Hello, General. Dozens of soldiers in front of the Mazhao Palace saluted Lion Yateo at the same time. Well, this is the prince's distinguished guest. You leave. Lion Yateo waved his hand. The soldiers immediately stepped aside and looked at Su Dong solemnly, and Su Dong nodded slightly. The two entered the palace. The Mazhao Palace is the largest mansion in the Mazhao Prefecture, and the most core control power and power center of the entire Mazhao are all here. Unlike other big family mansions that like to build pavilions and towers, and rural landscapes with small bridges and flowing water, the Mazhao Palace, as soon as you enter the front door, is directly a large martial arts training ground. In the martial arts training ground, military equipment and supplies are neatly arranged. It doesn't look like a mansion. It's more like a large military camp. The lively music echoed in the middle courtyard. Lion Yateo is familiar with the place. Leading Sudan forward, after bypassing a middle door, the front suddenly opened up, and a majestic palace appeared. Although it is not as domineering as the palace of the capital city, it is also extraordinary. At this moment, there are teams of soldiers patrolling dozens of meters outside the entire palace. A bright red carpet extends from the palace gate, extending for more than 100 meters, and one after another, the figures dressed in elegant clothes walk from this red carpet into the palace. Like some sect masters in the Muzhou territory, officials, and nobles in the court, only those with high enough status are qualified to attend the birthday banquet of the Muzhou king. Master Kyan, you are a rare guest. Has the prince not come out yet? Master Kyan asked, holding a brocade box in his hand. This book has been updated recently in .. Update. The prince is the protagonist today. It is normal for him to come out late. But you, what birthday gift have you prepared for the prince? Just some small things. There are many seats in the palace, and some people sit down. Some walk around and talk. Some wait quietly. Those who come here today are either high officials or nobles. There are a lot of Yuanying cultivators alone, and there are countless people below Yuanying. Those ordinary people naturally want to find an opportunity to chat. Lion Yateo did not take Sudan directly to the hall of the palace, but took him to a side hall. The side hall is much quieter than the main hall, but the security is still strict. The road is smooth and unimpeded, and Lion Yateo took Sudan into the hall. As soon as Sudan walked into the hall, he saw a figure meditating in the hall. The figure's hair had already turned a little grey, but he was sitting cross-legged there, emitting a strong evil spirit. Although his eyes were closed, he had a fierce and domineering aura. Is this the prince? Sudan looked at the figure, and the mobile phone in his Dantian opened the luck compass. The projection of the king of Muzhou suddenly appeared on the luck compass, and a faint golden light emerged. Sudan naturally showed a smile on his face. It is rumored that 100 years ago, this king of Muzhou was fighting against monsters. A big monster practiced evil magic and set up a plan to blood refine a town. At that time, the king of Muzhou got the news and immediately led his soldiers to defend the people in the town to the death. He led the soldiers and never regretted his death. That battle also shocked the entire Jin Dynasty and became one of the many glorious deeds of this king, which was widely circulated. But in the past, Sudan still had some doubts. It seems that the rumors are true. Sudan saw the golden light and believed it. This king of Muzhou is indeed respectable. Hello, Susan. The figure opened his eyes and stood up with a smile. On his tall and sturdy body, muscles bulged, and it was hard to tell that he was a 300-year-old man. Your Highness, I have invited someone for you. You will not break your promise to me. Lion Yateo spoke before Sudan. Sudan could not help but look at the woman next to him, with a hint of doubt in his eyes. Lion Yateo seemed to have something to hide, and quietly stuck out his tongue at Sudan. This little girl was very graceful. She had a rare beauty, which made Sudan feel bright, after being used to the latter's straightforwardness. You girl. No problem, I will talk to that old guy Lionson about your matter later. I guarantee that it will be done for you. The king of Muzhou waved his hand. Then, he looked at Sudan again. Sudan smiled and didn't care. It's really unusual to kill a god-transforming cultivator with the power of martial arts master. The king of Muzhou said with emotion, and was secretly shocked. The second update will be later. Chapter 137, Commander. King Muzhou is a cultivator in the nascent soul realm. His spiritual sense is always spreading all around. He can sense any slight movement. However, when the two people in front of him entered the door just now, he did not sense Sudan at all. At this moment, he carefully observed the legendary warrior in front of him. The young man in front of him was wearing a white robe and had a faint smile on his face, but his eyes contained a terrible edge. It was like a peerless fierce knife. This surprised King Muzhou, who came from a military background. He was a soldier. Only the strong could make him admit his respect and bow his head. Obviously, in front of the young man in front of him, he felt fear. Then Your Highness, Susan, you guys chat first, I'll go out first. Lion Yateo bowed respectfully to Sudan, and King Muzhou said, Zio Lion, do you know that your master? King Muzhou also said, Master has recently studied a new formation. It is a critical time. He will not come today. Lion Yateo shook his head. That's a pity. It would be great if Li Xiangai could come. What a pity. The king of Moscow sighed, with a look of disappointment on his face. Sudong was stunned and looked at the girl next to him in surprise. Li Xiangai, is he your master? Sudong asked in surprise. What? Are you scared? Lion Yateo pouted and smiled, then clasped her fists towards Sudong. I'm the youngest disciple of Li Xiangai, but I have not received the true teachings of my master, so I'm laughed at by Master Su. Sudong was speechless. It turned out that this girl had such a background. The two watched Lion Yateo go out. This little girl, her grandfather is now in charge of the Northwest Army under my command. She is a girl, and she is also a cultivator. She fights and kills all day long. She doesn't look like a lady from a noble family. The king of Moscow smiled helplessly. Although he was dissatisfied with his words, his eyes were full of doting. Obviously, he liked Lion Yateo very much. Miss Lion is a heroine who acts righteously. I dare not even imagine her as a lady from a noble family. Sudong also smiled. Come, Venerable Su, sit down and talk. Moscow Wang Zelian said enthusiastically. This is a special spiritual tea from my Moscow palace. It has the effect of invigorating qi and activating blood circulation. Venerable Su, please try it. He invited Sudong to take a seat. There was warm spiritual tea on the coffee table next to him. It exuded a faint fragrance. Sudong was also very casual. He picked up the teacup and took a sip. Suddenly, his mouth was full of tea fragrance, which flowed down his throat to his stomach and spread to his blood vessels. He really felt that the qi and blood in his body were much more active. It's really extraordinary. Sudong exclaimed sincerely. Haha, Venerable Su likes it. I will send more people to King Zhao Venerable's mansion next time. Moscow Wang smiled. Sudong smiled. I'm here, and I have drunk tea. If you have anything to say, you can tell me now. This prince treated him so politely, it didn't seem like he was just inviting him to attend the birthday banquet. It's so nice. I've lived for 300 years, so I like to greet people who are nice. To be honest, I wanted to visit the Venerable in King's Hao in person, but I was afraid it would be too presumptuous. Secondly, I didn't want to make it too public. It just so happened that the girl said she could invite you over, so I believed her. This little girl is really reliable, and she really invited the Venerable. The king of Moscow was very happy and humble. After all, in terms of power, Sudong is the Venerable of Shifen Pavilion, and he can completely ignore the king of a state. In terms of strength, Sudong has the combat power of the God Transformation, and he has killed all the God Transformation cultivators. He is a cultivator in the late nascent soul stage, so he is not qualified. If the prince praises me again, I will fly away. Sudong laughed. No, your excellency, please don't fly away yet. Wait for me to finish what I have to say. King Moscow said, and stopped saying those empty polite words. After thinking for a while, he said, it's like this. I got news from the palace that the elder brother of Master Zhang, the evil old monk, died at your hands. Halfway through his words, he saw Sudong frowning, and King Moscow's heart suddenly jumped. He said, Your Excellency, don't misunderstand me. I have no other intentions in saying this. The evil old monk should have died long ago. He died at your hands, because of his own fault. What I care about is that the evil old monk has a sword formation diagram in his hand. He spent a lot of effort to invite Sudong here, just for this sword formation diagram. Sword formation diagram? Sudong recalled in his mind that after he killed the evil old monk, he took back the things left on his body. Because there were no useful things such as spiritual essence, he didn't care about some other bits and pieces. There was indeed a jade slip among them. Is it this sword formation diagram? Sudong flipped his hand, and the jade slip appeared in his hand. There was a line of small characters engraved on the jade slip. Xiangang sword formation diagram. When the king of Moscow saw the jade slip, his eyes lit up immediately. Yes, it is this Xiangang sword formation diagram. To be honest, Your Excellency, the magic weapon I use is also a flying sword, and the guards under my command are all masters of swords. In the past, when I deployed troops, I always thought of setting up a sword formation, but it's a pity that I never succeeded. He lowered his head and sighed. Your Excellency, you also know that our human race, the combat power of a single person is not as good as that of monsters. So when fighting monsters, we can only rely on military formations. Military formations are improved by prime ministerly, suitable for large-scale decisive battles, but they are still lacking in killing. So I have always wanted to create a formation suitable for a few people to perform, especially for attacking. I use swords, so I thought of sword formations. Then he invited Sudang. Sudang also nodded slightly, knowing that this sword formation diagram is in the hands of the venerable. Venerable, I'm willing to use 20,000 spirit crystals to rent this sword formation diagram in the hands of the venerable for 3 months. Is that okay? King Mazhao said sincerely. This book has been updated recently in .. Update. He lived for 300 years in his life, and almost 300 years of fighting monsters. From a small soldier on the front line, to after getting the immortal fate, he embarked on the road of cultivating immortals, and became an immortal cultivator. His strength and status became higher and higher, but he never forgot to fight and kill monsters. Even now, what he cares about is how to deploy troops and formations, so that the army can kill monsters better. No need for spirit crystals. Give it to the prince. Sudang did not hesitate at all. He threw the jade slip in his hand directly to the king of Mazhao. This prince killed monsters and eliminated monsters, and had the heart of the human race, which made Sudang stand in awe. This sword formation diagram can be useful, so it should be taken. It is also here. He does not need a sword. Thank you. The king of Mazhao took the jade slip and said gratefully. He had been thinking about this Xiangang sword formation map for a long time, but there was really no way. He thought about taking the initiative to visit Sudang in Kingshao, but he felt it was presumptuous. This was a priceless treasure that all the immortals valued. Your Excellency, this is 20,000 spiritual crystals. As he said this, the king of Mazhao took out a storage bag from his arms. I said no. Sudang didn't even look at it, and lowered his head to drink tea. Then, our Northwest Army has military merits. The formation map given by your excellency is enough for a commander-in-chief. Why don't you take the position of commander-in-chief of our Northwest Army, and I will specially approve 500 personal guards to send to your excellency. The king of Mazhao said. Military merit? Sudang remembered that he had exchanged spiritual essence at the temporary armament point of the Northwest Army. Okay. Sudang nodded. Okay. The king of Mazhao took up his pen and wrote quickly. After a while, a decree was written, and he took out the golden seal to seal it. All of a sudden, the characters turned into tadpole-like light and shadows floating in the air, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. From then on, under the commander of the Northwest Army, there was another general commander. His name was Sudang. All the small commanders of the Northwest Army received the notice at the same time. Commander Emo was still drinking and chatting with many colleagues in the front hall, when suddenly the command order vibrated. He took it out, and a message came out. The new commander of the Northwest Army, Sudang. Emo Yun was surprised and surprised. Sudang, that's Sudang? Chapter 138 Kiran. Thanks to Xinshang for the reward. Sudang, which Sudang? Emo Yun paused in his heart, and his face turned ugly. He seemed absent-minded when talking to his colleagues. Back in Ning'an County, he and Sudang got along quite well. A small flying fish catcher in Ning'an County was naturally nothing in his eyes. He said something, but he didn't take it seriously. But the latter became the venerable of Shifeng Pavilion, with such a high status that even the commander of the Northwest Army could only look up to him, not to mention him, a small commander. In this way, the words he said at the beginning were naturally troublesome. I thought that Sudang, a warrior, could only get a third-rank official position at most, but I didn't expect that he would soar directly to the sky. I hope he has forgotten what I said that day. Emo Yun drank the wine, and the wine didn't taste good. He thought to himself that he was a warrior, but he looked down on warriors even more. In this world, immortal cultivators are the mainstream. The lively and cheerful music echoed in every corner of the palace, and the beautiful maids served fine wine and delicacies. In the palace, the nobles of Mazhao talked with each other. Lion Yateo changed her clothes and returned to her daughter's dress. She sat quietly beside an old man with grey hair. but she was born pretty, and she was also a giant and cultivator, so her temperament was naturally extraordinary. Sitting there quietly, I don't know how many young talents in the palace attracted their attention. You know, the people present today are not only people from the court, but also many disciples of the immortal sects in Moscow. Among them, there are many young knights who have achieved success in cultivation, and have handsome looks. Elder Key, this is your grandson, right? He is indeed a handsome man. At a young age, he has already reached the top of Jinden. He has the hope of breaking through to Yuanying in the future. It would be a good story if we could have two Yuanying in the same family as Elder Key. A Yuanying cultivator sat at the next table, raised his wine, and smiled at the Taoist with white hair and a childlike face. This Taoist with white hair and a youthful face is the current Yuanying elder of the Seven Stars sect. Next to him sits a young man with an imposing manner. His name is Qirang. He is his second generation grandson. He is very talented, and he has devoted all his heart to cultivate him. Master Kyan, you are too polite. Ronja has just reached the ultimate state of Jinden. He still needs to stabilize for a few years. The Taoist replied with a smile. He was quite humble, but the joy between his eyebrows could not be concealed. Hello, Master Kyan. The young man Qirang also bowed to Master Kyan. After a few words of smiling conversation, the grandfather and grandson turned around, and Elder Key smiled and looked at Lianzan and Lian Yateo at a table in the distance. He smiled and said, I asked you to get closer to Yateo, but you just stayed with an old guy like me. What's the use? Qirang looked at Lian Yateo. The latter, who had regained her daughter's body today, did make him shine, but due to his personality, Qirang was still quite conceited, and would not make any clingy moves to the latter in such an occasion. Yatao wants to accompany General Lian, so I don't want to disturb him, he said softly, but there was a hint of tenderness in his tone. You are just too shy. You have to take the initiative in matters between men and women. Yatao's master is lordly. Lordly is so respected that there are countless people who want to get close to him. If our Kaixing sect can get on this high branch, and you become a Yuanying, then in the future, no one can move our Qi family in the Kaixing sect. Elder Qi sent a message to his grandson earnestly. It was also when Lianzan was cultivating. Grandpa helped him once, so we can talk about this marriage. You have to work harder and get married as soon as possible to avoid any changes. Yes, grandson knows. Qirang nodded respectfully. Yatao got up. Why is he walking over there? Who is that man? Elder Qi wanted to teach his grandson a few ways to pursue a beautiful woman, but his eyes suddenly changed as he looked forward, and he said in surprise. Qirang followed Elder Qi's gaze, and saw Lian Yateo, dressed in white and as graceful as a fairy, smiling and standing up to greet a man who had just walked into the hall. Qirang was stunned by the smile on his face. When has Yateo ever shown me this expression? Qirang's heart choked. He couldn't help but feel jealous. Looking at the strange man, his face became even uglier. Who is he? Sudan walked into the hall and saw the girl who came forward at the same time. Lian Yateo, who had regained her female body, was indeed a fairy. The latter also looked behind Sudan. Venerable Su, where is the prince? Lian Yateo walked forward and said. The prince has just obtained a treasure and is studying it on a whim. It will probably take a while for him to come out. I smelled the aroma of wine and came here by myself. Sudang smiled. Then I will toast you a glass today. Lian Yateo waved her hand, and the fairy's spiritual power was mobilized a little, and the fine wine on the empty table nearby was summoned at once. There were 2 more wine cups. They flew to Sudang and her hands respectively. Lian Yateo personally poured wine for Sudang. Please. Sudang smiled and drank it all in one gulp. The wine was long-lasting and had a strong aroma. It was indeed a first-class wine. Seeing Sudang finish drinking, Lian Yateo smiled even sweeter and continued to fill Sudang's cups with a happy face. To be honest, Your Excellency, I'll learn Taoism from Master this time. Master has praised Your Excellency a lot. Master said that if there is any warrior in the world who can become a martial god, it must be Your Excellency Su. Is it difficult to become a martial god? Lian Yateo said. From ancient times to the present, it is only a legend. Naturally difficult. Sudang smiled. but there was a strong self-confidence in his smile. Difficult, but not impossible. Lion Yateo smiled immediately. I think your excellency will definitely succeed. Come, I will toast your excellency another glass. She poured Sudang another glass of wine. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. This scene made countless people in the whole hall envious. You know, Lion Yateo herself is a top-notch cultivator of the Jindan stage, with first-class talent and appearance. In addition, she is a disciple of Prime Minister Lee. There are countless forces in the entire Jin Dynasty who want to climb this high branch. She can be said to be a proud girl of heaven. When did the latter treat a man like this? In this kind of scene, she stood up to greet him and poured wine in person. And the smile on her face made them all drunk. This is what the old saying often says, wine does not make people drunk, but people get drunk by themselves. They thought a lot, but Sudang understood Lion Yateo's thoughts. First, he had saved the latter's life, and second, this time he was invited by him to meet the King of Muzhou, and the King of Muzhou also agreed to his conditions. Lion Yateo naturally felt guilty about these two favors, so she greeted him with a smile and poured wine. It was hard for her. However, Sudang did not say anything. The eyes of the people in the hall and the woman in front of him did not care, so he did not need to pay attention to them. Elder Qi and Qirang in the distance both had gloomy faces. They looked at this scene coldly. Who is this person who can be so close to Yateo? Qirang's face was unsightly. After all, he was engaged to Lion Yateo. After thinking for a while, he glanced at the grandfather next to him, immediately stood up and walked over. Lion Yateo poured wine for Sudang and talked to him. He faced Sudang and did not see Qirang behind him. Sudang was facing this side, so he naturally saw the imposing young man coming. Qirang walked over and smiled at Sudang. Do I know him? Sudang was confused, but still stared at the young man. My friend, Qirang bowed. I see that you have an extraordinary demeanor. I wonder where your master is. Chapter 139 The Lord arrives. Sudang was slightly stunned and smiled. I don't have a master. No master? Qirang was stunned. A casual cultivator? But my friend doesn't have spiritual energy, so he is not a cultivator, he said, and smiled. He couldn't help but waved his hand. It turns out that my friend is an ordinary person. I just misjudged him. I'm really sorry. Qirang said. He said sorry, but there was no apology in his eyes. He said that Sudang had an extraordinary demeanor before, and in the blink of an eye he said that he had misjudged him. That means that Sudang has no demeanor at all. Sudang looked at him. Qirang smiled and said, I'm Qirang from the 7 Stars sect. I'm also the fiancé of this fairy lion. I just saw that he was very familiar with my friend, so I came here to get to know him. Qirang. A cold shout sounded. Lion Yateo turned around and looked at him coldly. His previous smile disappeared completely. Lifelong events, how can we treat them as a joke? Besides, this is my friend. Why would I use you to show off? Qirang's face was a little ugly at this moment. So many people in the hall were looking at him. As everyone knows, you and I are already engaged, and we have an engagement. That was my father who got drunk and made his own decision. You and I are both immortals, so why would we care about the mundane world? I will ask my father to personally go to the 7 Stars gates to cancel the engagement. Here, I will also apologize to Elder Qi on his behalf, and I will give him a generous gift in the future. Lion Yateo said coldly. Cancel the engagement? Yateo. Our engagement was personally decided by our elders. How can it be cancelled just like that? Qirang said hurriedly. Climbing up to Prime Minister Lee through his marriage with Lion Yateo is the most important thing for the entire Qi family now. How can it fail like this? Just because of him? Qirang looked at Sudang. Sudang said, it is natural that both parties should be willing when it comes to matters between men and women. Are you a disciple of the 7 Stars sect? Although the 7 Stars sect is in Muzhou, you should have heard of my name. Qirang was startled. Looking at the eyes of the young man in front of him, he did not dare to speak. My name is Sudang, and I live in Kingshao. Sudang looked at him. Qirang's face changed immediately. Sudang? Now, in the entire Jin Dynasty's cultivation world, who doesn't know that there is a demon level warrior, the level of martial honor? He can kill the immortals who have transformed into gods, and the court has made an exception to confer him the title of 10 Directions Pavilion Venerable, sitting in charge of one side. Their 7 stars sect is considered a major sect in Moscow, and the Grand Elder of the sect is also a true Lord of Transformation, but that is the Grand Elder, and he can't see him, even if he wants to, and the young man in front of him is at the same level as the Grand Elder of his 7 stars sect. Su Venerable, Qi Rong himself didn't know what to say. Don't force matters between men and women. Su Dong chuckled. You can go now. Yes, I'll go now. Qi Rong didn't dare to waste words. He turned around and left. He walked all the way back to Elder Qi, and only when he sat back did he breathe a sigh of relief. He didn't care about the eyes of the people around him. Venerable Su, Venerable Shifen Pavilion, although he is a warrior, he can kill immortals in the spirit transformation stage. Killing me in the Jinden stage is just a matter of waving his hand. Qi Rong thought to himself, how terrible, I actually went to provoke a venerable with the fighting power of the spirit transformation stage. Qi Rong, who is he? Elder Qi's face also changed. Seeing his grandson coming back in disgrace, he even asked through voice transmission. Shifen Pavilion, Su Dong. Qi Rong responded through voice transmission. Is it him? Elder Qi was speechless. But he thought in his heart, it's over. Even if the Qi family had 10 more courage, they would not dare to snatch a woman from the venerable. Lion Yateo chuckled and looked at Su Dong. I'm sorry to make you laugh. Su Dong shook his head. I think that young man is not bad. You can think about it carefully. He had used the luck compass to observe Qi Rong before, and there was a faint light of merit and virtue around him, which was also a good family background. What are you considering? Lion Yateo's pretty face flushed, and she stared at Su Dong angrily. I have someone I like in my heart, but it's not him. Haha, so there is someone in my heart. Come, tell me who is so lucky to be favored by Miss Lion. Su Dong couldn't help laughing. Do you really want to know? Lion Yateo's pretty face flushed, but her beautiful eyes looked at Su Dong cunningly. The king of Moscow is here. Suddenly, a voice came from outside the hall. Su Dong turned his head and looked. Everyone in the hall looked over. Lion Yateo's pretty face changed, bit her lips lightly, and after looking at Su Dong, she also looked outside the hall. The king of Moscow, dressed in a black robe with gold patterns inlaid on it, strode in. Congratulations, your highness, on your 300th birthday. May your highness be blessed with great fortune and longevity. Many guests came forward to wish him a happy birthday. The king of Moscow also nodded. But when he saw Su Dong in the crowd, he strode over and walked to Su Dong's side. Venerable Su, today you have honored me with a birthday banquet and brought me a generous gift. I'm very grateful. Please take a seat. He warmly entertained him. May your highness enjoy eternal happiness. Su Dong also bowed his hands in blessing. Thank you for your good words. The king of Moscow smiled and accompanied Su Dong to the main table to sit down. This book has been recently updated in #@. Exclamation mark. Everyone in the hall watched this scene and realized that the young man was actually the venerable Shifen Pavilion. No wonder Qi Rong just sat back down in shame when he went over there. TSK. It turns out to be Suzan of Shifen Pavilion. He is a warrior comparable to a god transforming cultivator. He looks really young. Everyone was whispering or communicating, and the atmosphere was very lively. Su Dong had just taken his seat, and before he even sat down on the chair, haha. Old monkey, we are not late for your 300th birthday. A hearty voice like thunder resounded throughout the hall. The originally noisy crowd suddenly quieted down, even the music was interrupted and stopped. Everyone turned their heads to look, and saw 2 figures coming side by side, both wearing wide black robes, and there seemed to be a raging wind behind them, magnificent, and the light outside the hall shone on them, and became distorted and changed. The huge pressure spread throughout the hall. True Lord of Transformation? Everyone was shocked. Su Dong also stood up and looked over. 2 figures, one burly and one lean. They are the 2 transformation gods of Shifen Pavilion, Lei Ming's engine and Tai Shu's engine. He had read the Shifen Pavilion files and recognized them at a glance. The two Zenjins appeared directly in the hall. Haha, the two Zenjins' presence really makes my palace glorious. Come on, Brother Lei Ming, Brother Taishu. Please come in. Ms. Hao Wang Lion laughed and ran over to greet them. The deep relationship between them is beyond the understanding of ordinary people. On this 300th birthday, the two Zenjins came to congratulate in person. Old monkey, you are already 300 years old in a blink of an eye, and I'm almost 500 years old. Lei Ming's Zenjin laughed and walked in. The people in the hall did not dare to speak. In front of the transformation god, they were like ants. Hey, let me see who this is. Old monkey, you have another extraordinary guest here. Isn't this the young hero of our Shifen Pavilion? Lei Ming's Zenjin walked in and saw the figure of the young man standing in front waiting for them. Seeing him, a smile appeared on his face and he smiled directly. Compared with them, 21-year-old Sudong is just a child, and he looks older than a teenager. But his strength is there, so he is naturally treated at the same level. Brother Lei Ming, Brother Taishu. Sudong bowed. Venerable Su, you are here too. Come, let's have a good drink today to see if you, the Venerable, can drink. Or our true Lord Hua Shen has a better alcohol tolerance. True Lord Taishu was very polite. Sudong smiled. All eyes in the hall gathered here. For a moment, 3 big men from the 10 Directions Pavilion gathered in this hall alone. It was suddenly different from a normal birthday banquet. Chapter 140 The Demon Clan Attacks. True Lord Lei Ming has a rough and explosive personality. He practices thunder magic and his strength is at the top level of the middle stage of the spiritualization. True Lord Taishu, who is stronger, is introverted and humble. The two have known each other since they were humble. These two people with completely different personalities are good friends who have been together for hundreds of years. Everyone sat down and talked. After 3 rounds of wine, True Lord Lei Ming looked at Sudong, not knowing whether he was really a little drunk or just in high spirits. Venerable Su, you are so young and have such skills. To be honest, I admire you. But warriors are warriors after all. Warriors have a short lifespan. It is normal for an old monkey to live 300 years old, and he is still in his prime. But you are different. 300 years is the limit. You should cherish your years and enjoy it well. True Lord Lei Ming said with a smile. He hoped that Sudong would enjoy it well, but the meaning was clearly that Sudong would have a short life. He is an old-fashioned true lord of the spiritualization and has made great contributions to the Jin Dynasty. Now a young warrior sits with him. He is naturally upset. But Sudong's entry into the Shifen Pavilion was approved by Prime Minister Li and His Majesty the Emperor of Jin. What can he say? He can only vent his anger here. Master Tishu glanced at Master Li Ming and said nothing more. After hundreds of years of getting along, he has long been accustomed to the latter's character, which is straightforward and no one can persuade him. I will. Sudong was not angry and smiled. He had seen in the files that Master Li Ming's temper was explosive, and he was not good at talking in the entire Shifen Pavilion. There was no need for him to bother with him. As for not being convinced, there are many Master Huashan in the Shifen Pavilion who are not convinced by him. To convince others, you need to rely on strength, not on words. Master Li Ming saw that Sudong was not angry, raised his eyebrows, and then did not say much, turned around and chatted with the king of Moscow. The sound of soft music echoed in the hall, and the atmosphere was very comfortable. Sudong was talking to Master Tishu about some warrior issues. The latter had a gentle personality and was easy to get along with. Just as they were chatting, thump a loud horn sounded throughout the palace hall. Everyone was quiet, and several commanders of the Northwest Army stood up one after another, looking at the King of Moscow with a serious face. Military emergency report. The burly old man sitting next to Lion Yateo stood up suddenly, his face solemn, and he was intimidating without anger. General Lion, what happened? Everyone looked over, and now the Northwest Army was under his control. Many commanders and Moscow officials looked over. It's not good. A large number of well-cultivated monsters have gathered at the border of my Moscow and have already fought with our army. Lion Zan took out a military talisman. The military talisman trembled slightly, and many messages were quickly transmitted back. What? Monsters gathered? These monsters invaded my Moscow today. There was an uproar in the hall. Monsters also have their own intelligence system. Many transformed monsters try their best to blend into the lives of human races, so they naturally have a lot of information. Knowing that today is the birthday banquet for King Muzhau's 300th birthday, they invaded the border today. Obviously, they don't want King Muzhau to have an easy time. What kind of monster is this? King Muzhau also stood up and asked directly. Now there are great monsters at the level of transformation, and they are still increasing. General Lion said with a serious face. Everyone in the hall was shocked. Lion Sudong was also a little surprised. You know, the great monsters at the level of transformation are also big bosses in the monster clan. On weekdays, they either enjoy themselves in their own caves, or practice in seclusion. Why come to invade the border of the Jin Dynasty? The participation of the combat power of the transformation of the gods. Are they trying to start a war? It is impossible for ordinary armies to resist the great monsters at the level of transformation of the gods. It is like a tiger entering a flock of sheep, which is disastrous. No more words. Immediately order the Northwest Army to enter an emergency state of preparation. Everyone, all of you here are cultivators and warriors, please help evacuate and rescue the people in the border areas. The King of Muzhau looked at the many cultivators in the hall with lightning eyes. No problem. My Kixing sect will immediately summon all the members to go. And my Jinqian gang. Many cultivators responded. As for the great demons of transformation, except for the battle formation, it depends on you three. The King of Muzhau looked at Sudong and the others. These bastards, coming at this time, will really cause trouble. Master Laming put down his wine glass and said loudly, let's go. Sudong was even more straightforward. He stood up directly. The monsters invaded, no matter if it was premeditated or intentional provocation. Wherever they passed, there would be no grass growing, and the people would die. This was a battle between tribes, and the price was horrible. Killing the monsters, and eliminating the monsters was his duty. Follow me, three of you. The King of Muzhau strode out of the palace with three people. Outside the palace, a fairy sedan the size of a house had been prepared. They boarded the sedan and quickly flew towards the border of Muzhau. The team of immortal cultivators, some flying sedans, some flying, all took off and followed closely. Among them, Lion Yateo stood beside Lion Zan on his fairy sedan. Grandpa, I'm afraid that the monsters are provoking me this time with bad intentions, she said with a worried look on her face. Don't worry, they are not good intentions. We also have two true lords of transformation and one venerable. With the three of them here, the monsters will not be able to get away with it today. Lion Zan smiled. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. 3 combat forces in the transformation stage are more useful than hundreds of thousands of troops. 2 true lords of transformation are easy to say, but it depends on Venerable Su. After all, he is a warrior, and he may not be able to perform well in this kind of war. Lion Zan was still a little worried. Grandpa, don't worry about this. Lion Yateo smiled, full of confidence. Lion Zan glanced at his granddaughter, smiled and said nothing more. He was an experienced person, so he had seen through many things. The fairy sedan flew across the sky, and in a blink of an eye, tens of thousands of miles had passed. In front of the Northwest Army position, Sudong and others flew out of the fairy sedan, and looked down from afar. The immortal cultivators were suspended in the air, looking from afar, and saw that below, there was an extremely majestic pass. The city wall was towering, like a black giant beast crawling on the ground. On the city wall, there stood many magic weapons, and at this moment, each of them emitted a terrifying spiritual light, and they were all killing weapons driven by spirit crystals. Monster. Sudong stepped on the void and looked down. As the northwestern frontier of the Jin Dynasty, the territory of Muzhau was the place where monster tribes lived in the past. This is where the Heavenly Demon Army is located. For hundreds of years, countless monsters and demons have been attacking this majestic pass crazily. I don't know how many heroes have died here. The blood of monsters and humans has already dyed the entire wall red, soaking into it, emitting a black and red color. Venerable Su, watch carefully and see how we kill the demons. Thunder Master was surrounded by thunder, and smiled at Sudong. Sudong glanced at him, and said nothing more. He just looked at the demons below with cold eyes. Iron Tree Master also looked over. He was old and smart, and he had long discovered that the aura of this young master changed as soon as he arrived at the battlefield. What a terrible murderous aura. Iron Tree Master was sensitive. Even if Sudan tried to restrain himself, he was even more frightened. Everyone was floating, mainly the King of Muzhou and Sudan in front. They are coming. King of Muzhou suddenly said. It only took a breath. I saw many streams of light flying around, and at one moment, hundreds of figures gathered in the void hundreds of meters ahead, transforming into all kinds of strange monster figures. The weakest among them were only in the giant stage, but they also had powerful demonic power. The 4 figures in the lead were all wrapped in demonic light and had surging auras. They were all great demons at the transformation stage. 4 great demons at the transformation stage. If we add a venerable, there are only 3 at the transformation stage. For a moment, many people on the human side were a little confused. Chapter 141 The Wind Rises. In terms of top combat power, they were obviously one level behind the other party. 3 of you. Today we don't seek to kill the enemy, just protect Muzhou Pass. Muzhou King sent a message to Sudan and the other 2. Thunder Master and Iron Tree Master both nodded. Only Sudan focused all his attention on the monsters on the opposite side. What kind of monsters are they? Sudan looked over and saw the 4 great spirit monsters in the lead, one with a tiger head and one with a ferocious elephant head. 2 of them were in human form. They looked over with a grim smile, but their true bodies could not be seen. It was just that the demon power was surging, and the others did not dare to look directly at them. Haha, Muzhou King, today is your 300th birthday, and our heavenly demon army should also give you a generous gift. This generous gift is to send you to the Yellow Spring Road, so that you can see the scenery of the underworld. The tiger monster in the lead took a step and laughed. His voice boomed and resounded throughout the sky. Just you, a beast. Muzhou King sneered, and his voice also spread hundreds of meters. No point in talking more. Today, the 4 saints will take down Muzhou Pass. Otherwise, we will not be able to face the military commander. The elephant monster spoke with murderous intent. The monsters claimed that they were either saints or kings. Yes, let's do it. Who will make the first move? The 4 divine monsters ignored the human race in front of them and discussed with each other. Let me go first. Look at my endless poisonous fire. A divine monster with an evil face and a young man came out, grinning and looking forward. He waved his hand, and suddenly, dark green poisonous fires flew out from his fingers. The poisonous fire grew with a storm, and in an instant it turned into a raging flame, which quickly spread in the air. At the same time, more flames burned towards the sky and the city below. Are you going to start right now? A lot of fire. Green fire. Be careful. This is the monster's poisonous fire. Anyone who touches it will die. Many cultivators looked at the raging green fire, which seemed to be endless in the blink of an eye. The green was pressing down, and their faces turned pale. Some of them retreated, while others prepared to resist. In front of the power of the gods, life and death were not under their control. I'll do it. The heavenly thunder art. Lei Ming's engine had a burst of personality. He was the first to stand up and made a move. The sky suddenly became dark and dense. With a crackling sound, a blue thunder as thick as a bucket rushed down from the sky and hit the monster that controlled the poisonous fire fiercely. This old guy has something. The monster stretched out his right hand to resist, and the clothes on his palm exploded, revealing a hairy arm. The arm became charred black. He couldn't help but grin and even dodged. Meanwhile, endless poisonous fire spread over here. True Lord Tishu took out a talisman paper and pinched it. A stream of cool water naturally emerged from his hand. He pointed his finger and the water submerged the poisonous fire. Awesome. The 2 true lords of transformation are really amazing. This fight immediately excited many immortal cultivators behind him. Haha, come again. True Lord Li Ming was even more excited. He shouted and flew up directly. Thunder and lightning were wrapped around him, and he condensed into a powerful thunder sword, which chopped straight at the monster. Come on. The monster sneered. He flipped his hand and took out a fire stick. Green fire rose on the fire stick. It looked far less powerful than True Lord Li Ming's sword, but he went straight up. The thunder completely suppressed the green fire, and the monster could only block it with difficulty. Many human races were very happy. They admired true Lord Li Ming's extraordinary thunder method. While their companions were fighting, the other three great demons were watching. Master Tishu also looked at them coldly, and Sudong was also watching. Beware of the three demons' attacks. Don't worry, they are fighting one-on-one fairly, and we won't interfere. The tiger demon said with a smile. Tishu, do you still remember me? It's our turn next. The elephant demon suddenly spoke. Humph, I didn't kill you that day, and you dare to appear in front of me today. Master Tishu looked at the elephant demon coldly. You couldn't kill me that day, so I should kill you today. The elephant demon pointed to a hideous wound on his forehead and sneered. At this time, the battle in the field quietly reversed. Master Li Ming, who was originally suppressing the demon, for some reason, gradually looked ugly, and his aura also fluctuated. His thunder method was sometimes strong and sometimes weak. After a while, it was already dangerous. Not good. Master Tishu suddenly shouted. Bang. However, the monster suddenly poked the chest of Master Li Ming with the fire stick, and his chest burst immediately. Blood and flesh blurred, and a layer of strange green fire covered Master Li Ming's wound, sizzling and burning. Die. The monster raised his hand and poked again, poking the fire stick in his hand straight towards Master Li Ming's Dantian. If he poked it hard, Master Li Ming's Yuanying would be in danger. Li Ming. At this critical moment, Master Taishu wanted to rescue him, but the elephant monster suddenly stretched out a long trunk and rolled over, barely blocking Master Taishu. Master Taishu was anxious, but there was nothing he could do. It's over. Li Ming, actually fell into the hands of such a monster. Master Li Ming cried in his heart. But at this time, a strong force came from his shoulder, and he was pulled up immediately. He retreated instantly, and avoided the monster's poke. I'm not dead. It's Sudong. Master Li Ming looked up, and saw a young figure who was crossing his path. It was Sudong. I just laughed at him, and he saved me. Master Li Ming felt ashamed at this moment. You're looking for death. The monster saw that the duck he had caught flew away, and he was immediately furious. He looked at Sudong who was flying over, and poked him with the strange fire stick in his hand, each time stronger than the previous one. A warrior dares to appear in front of me. The monster roared in his heart. He had discovered before that this human had no spiritual energy. He was not a cultivator at all, but a warrior. Venerable Su, be careful. Master Li Ming also sent a message. That monster is weird. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. In Sudong's hand, a long sword with 3 colors of green, red, and black light intertwined appeared in an instant. When the long sword was exposed to the light, the sharp aura pierced the sky. After many magic weapons were sacrificed, the long sword, that was polished by an advanced sharpening gas, the tooth-breaking sword. Swish, the sword slashed out. As soon as the sword flashed, it landed directly on the fire stick that the monster poked out. Ding. With a light sound. Suddenly, half of the fire stick wrapped in green fire flew out from the sky and fell straight down. The monster screamed in pain, and the broken joint of the fire stick actually spurted out green blood. The fire stick was actually a part of his body, but it had been sacrificed and refined to be extremely tough, and could be used as a magic weapon. It's terrible. This warrior's sword is so terrible. The green fire monster was shocked and angry. He was seriously injured by one sword. Attack together. Kill him. Kill. Except for the elephant monster, the remaining tiger monster and the human-like monster all rushed over at the same time, and rushed towards Sudong together with the green fire monster. This warrior made them feel trembling. Susan, be careful. Lion Yateo couldn't help, but exclaimed in the crowd. Many cultivators looked at that figure, facing the siege of 3 great gods. Even the Iron Tree Master who was fighting with the elephant demon changed his expression slightly. Be careful. Lion sent a voice message to remind him, retreat first. Sudong held a long sword, and rushed forward to meet the 3 great gods. The sword in his hand did not change, but his sword technique changed at this moment. At this moment, a gentle wind enveloped the surrounding area for dozens of feet. Wind? How can I feel the wind when my demon power is surging? The wind is blowing. Whether it was a demon or a cultivator, everyone noticed this strange wind. Sudan waved his sword lightly, and suddenly, the originally gentle wind changed, turning into a series of terrifying sword lights, which appeared directly around the three great demons, penetrating every hole. Experience it, my sword technique at the level of the sword heart, the wind space. Sudan sneered. The three great gods were terrified. Chapter 142 The Terrible Wind. The pervasive wind condensed into a transparent sphere, which covered an area of nearly 50 feet. The invisible wind and transparent wind turned into terrifying knife lights, which affected the three monsters inch by inch. A knife light is not scary, but countless knife lights gathered together. Puff. Suddenly, blood was splashing on the bodies of the three monsters. There was no escape. Be careful, retreat quickly. This warrior is weird. This wind is weird. Go quickly. This wind knife is so scary. Take a few more knives. I'm afraid I'll die. Panic. The three gods of transformation were panicking at the same time. The knife lights crisscrossed on them, and every knife would make their monster bodies burst. This is not a fight. This is a one-sided crushing. They felt trembling in their hearts. The three monsters retreated violently at the same time. I can't stand it. Suddenly, the monster that released the green fire earlier could no longer maintain its human form. With a whoosh, smoke rose and it turned into a centipede monster more than 1 meter long. It twisted and fled in the air, turning into a monster body. The knife light fell on his monster body, still breaking fine wounds. My monster body is stronger. The range of this wind knife is only 40 or 50 feet. I can fly out in the blink of an eye. The centipede monster thought to himself. But when he turned around, he suddenly felt a chill behind him. He looked back and immediately saw Sudan's figure flashing and appearing behind him. Want to escape now? It's too late. Sudan's face was cold. He waved the tooth-breaking knife in his hand lightly. Don't. The centipede monster had no way to avoid it. Puff. The long knife easily penetrated the body of the centipede monster, and the monster body of more than 1 meter long was directly broken into 2 pieces. It was not a species of the demon swamp, and the monster body was so strong. A centipede monster baby the size of a palm appeared in the air. Just after twisting, it was instantly submerged by the violent wind blade, and turned into powder. Old centipede. 2 shouts. The ferocious tiger monster and the wild boar monster, that had also turned into a monster roared. Kill. After Sudan killed the centipede monster, he did not stop at all. His figure turned into lightning, and in a flash of lightning, he appeared at the 2 monsters. The 2 monsters were still roaring ferociously. Tiger pounds. Take my hammer. Both monsters desperately cast spells. Sudan slashed with a knife, and the 3-color sword light of green, red, and black seemed to have an indescribable strangeness. The wind whistled between heaven and earth, and the wind suddenly rose. 2 huge wind blades appeared, accompanied by the 3-color sword light of green, red, and black, and fell on the necks of the 2 monsters. Puff. A huge tiger head flew up, with a terrified face. Brother tiger. The wild boar demon had thick skin, and withstood Sudan's sword, roaring fiercely. The tiger demon's infant flew out, and struggled to escape, but it disappeared in the wind space in the blink of an eye. Another great demon of the incarnation stage died. What a terrible sword technique. The sword technique used by the venerable is so terrible. This wind is also terrible. The human figures suspended in the air were all excited and flushed. The great demon of the incarnation stage, he killed it as he said, and he killed 2 of them. Elder Key of the 7 Stars sect sighed and excitedly said, look, the 3 great demons of the incarnation stage have no power to resist in front of the venerable Su. Even the spells can't compete with them. Crush head on. One by one, the young immortal cultivators were excited and excited. At this moment, the human race felt proud. It is very rare for the human race to crush the monster head on, especially the great demon of the incarnation stage. Iron Tree True Lord had previously reminded Sudan to be careful and let him retreat, but in the blink of an eye, the 3 great demons of the incarnation stage surrounded him. 2 of them died, and 1 fled in embarrassment. This Master Tishu was stunned. Then his eyes burst into surprise, looking at Sudan who was holding a knife and slashing at the remaining wild boar demon. Venerable Su is really a top-notch martial artist, really top-notch. Your mastery of such a knife technique, is this the secret of controlling the world? Compared with Venerable Su, we are really Ah, damn human race, you are so treacherous. This is a trick you set up. The elephant demon was also anxious and wanted to help, but Venerable Tishu stopped him at this moment. The elephant demon cursed anxiously. That wild boar demon is going to die too. He can't escape. The people behind him laughed happily. The thick-skinned wild boar demon carried the wind blade of the wind space, and the layer of armor wrapped all over his body was almost shattered before he rushed out of the coverage of the wind space. In the past, the distance of 40 or 50 feet was just a blink of an eye in their eyes, but they didn't expect it to be so far away today. I'm out. The wild boar demon was overjoyed. What if you come out? A cold shout sounded, and the wild boar demon was startled. He turned around and saw Sudong chasing him with a knife. Human warrior, I know you. You are Sudong, and Peng Yao Zuansheng died in your hands. The wild boar demon roared. What? Peng Yao Zuansheng died? This book was recently updated in #at. Update. Suzong killed Peng Yao Zuansheng. The human cultivators were shocked. Peng Yao Zuansheng was notoriously difficult to kill. He died? Was it Sudong who killed him? You still know Zuansheng. You are the big demon in the demon lake? No wonder your skin is so thick. It turns out you are a different species. Sudong smiled coldly. The tooth-breaking knife in his hand swung mercilessly. You can't kill me. The wild boar demon was covered with armor and held a huge hammer in his hand. The huge hammer was raised and it flashed with black light, forming layers of shields. It had survived the strange wind ball before, let alone now. The wild boar demon was confident that he could still hold on. The elephant demon in the distance was relieved when he saw the wild boar demon escape from the invisible wind. Seeing Sudong swing his sword again, he also felt that he could hold on. Sudong's eyes flashed with golden light. Performance mode. Swish. The sword fell. Old pig is not good. Not good. Both demons realized that the sword was extraordinary. Sudong's sword fell on the wild boar demon, and the long sword chopped into the layers of shields. A terrifying sword light flashed, and Sudong suddenly drew his sword and retreated. A huge gap appeared in the wild boar demon's abdomen, and blood spurted. The sword light had already penetrated its body, and crushed the demon baby in its body. You. The wild boar demon stared at Sudong with wide eyes. You are still hiding your strength. Then his eyes dimmed. The body fell from a high altitude. He died with his eyes open. Sudong shook his head. I'm not hiding my strength. It's just that you're too tough and need me to use the performance mode to burst out. The other two monsters were easily killed by his wind space and broken tooth knife, but this wild boar monster was too tough. It was also because Sudong's skills were still slightly flawed. His sword skills were at a high level, but his skills were slightly worse, so he naturally couldn't exert his maximum power. The body of the wild boar monster, a great monster in the state of transformation, fell from the sky, and Sudong stood in front of the formation. The elephant monster that had been fighting with the Iron Tree Master had long retreated back to the monster army. The entire monster army was still faintly activating the formation, and layers of blood light enveloped the entire monster army. Human race. Treacherous human race, you rely on the benefits of magic weapons. Today's humiliation. Our heavenly demon army will not forget it, and will never let you go. The elephant monster roared to the sky, and looked at Sudong fiercely. I will remember you, Sudong of the Jin Dynasty of the human race, a warrior, killing my monster race. My heavenly demon army will never let you go. His voice rumbled throughout the sky. If you have the guts, come and say this to me. Sudong's voice also resounded through the world. The roar of the elephant monster was silenced. Sudong can drive the wind to form a field, which is very scary. The tiger monster and the others have failed. I'm not that stupid. The elephant monster was frustrated and waved his hand without saying much. Retreat. In today's battle, 3 of the 4 saints sent by their demon clan died, and only it survived. The morale is gone, so why fight? The people behind Mishao Pass, many soldiers, heard a voice from the sky. If you have the guts, come and say this to me. Then, the terrible army of monsters that came to oppress them retreated. Everyone was dumbfounded. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143, A Letter. Retreat. The demon army retreated. Whose voice was that earlier? Didn't you hear it? The demon said it was my Jin Dynasty Sudan, Suzan, and Suzan told him to have the courage to come over, but he retreated. The crowd was excited. The soldiers at Muzhou Pass had never encountered such a situation. Could those crazy demons be afraid and retreat on their own? In midair, seeing Sudan standing at the forefront, one man and one sword, standing in front of the formation, many cultivators behind him, the king of Muzhou, the two true lords Li Ming Tishu, General Lion Yatao, many warrior leaders, and the dense crowd of tens of thousands of soldiers below all looked over. All of them were extremely excited. Even Qirong, who had been dissatisfied with Sudan before, was extremely respectful, because this was a victory in the war against demons. The human race is so strong today, because of the continuous emergence of such strong people. The Jin Dynasty is also peaceful and tranquil, because of the efforts of such strong people. Personal grudges are insignificant in the face of racial justice. Your Excellency. The king of Muzhou came forward, full of joy. He bowed directly. Great. These monsters have repeatedly provoked the border of our Jin Dynasty. This time they sent 4 great monsters of transformation, obviously to seize our Muzhou Pass. Fortunately, there is your Excellency. It's really, in this battle, killing 3 of their great monsters of transformation will avoid a bloody war. Your Excellency, please accept my bow. Sudan hurriedly helped the king of Muzhou up. This is what I should do, Your Excellency. You don't have to do this. The entire Muzhou Pass human race was celebrating, and some soldiers even hugged happily. A war means bloodshed and sacrifice, and countless men shed their blood on the border. Some of them are fathers of children, some are still children of parents, some are husbands of wives, and some are lovers missed by women. They are the hope of too many people. For the sake of the tribe, they went to the battlefield without hesitation. If they didn't die, who would want to die? Venerable Su is so powerful. With his own strength, he scared away thousands of monsters. Venerable Su is also a warrior. Warriors can be so powerful. I'm also a warrior. Haha, I will be satisfied if I can have 1/10 of Venerable Su's strength in my lifetime. You. Venerable Su is a top genius, the first venerable of Shifeng Pavilion. Is it not okay for me to think about it? The soldiers talked about it one by one. In the war between ethnic groups, the real winner is the top group of strong people. As people of the Jin Dynasty, they naturally hope that their country has more strong people. In the past, the Jin Dynasty had Prime Minister Li, and now, there is a warrior like Sudan. Obviously, their court is getting stronger. Many immortal cultivators continue to go back to attend the birthday banquet of King Muzhou. Return to the immortal Sudan. Thunder Master, Iron Tree Master, King Muzhou, General Lion Yatao, all gathered in the immortal Sudan. Venerable Su, I was rude before. I apologize to you here. In front of everyone, Master Li Ming bowed to Sudan to apologize. Sudan quickly helped the veteran Master Huishan up. I don't know when Master Li Ming offended me. He shook his head. He didn't take Master Li Ming's words of criticism to heart. No, I, Li Ming, always distinguish between gratitude and resentment. I don't respect you in my heart, and I'm sorry for you. You saved my life, and Li Ming remembered it in my heart. From now on, Master Su, you are my savior. Whenever I need you to do something, Li Ming will never frown. Master Li Ming said seriously. Sudan was helpless. Master Li Ming's straightforward character was well known in the 10 Directions Pavilion. If he was unhappy with someone, he would dare to scold even the King of Heaven, but if he owed someone a favor, he would do everything he could to repay it. Your Excellency. True Lord Tishu also smiled and said, he has such a temper. Just bear with it. This time, the 3 of you have killed demons and eliminated monsters. I offer you a glass. King Muzhou raised his glass. It's all due to the efforts of the Venerable Su. I offer you a glass. Your Excellency Su has become famous in one battle today. From today on, I don't see who dares to disobey the Venerable in the Jin Dynasty. True Lord Li Ming also smiled. True Lord Tishu also smiled. Although Sudang became the venerable of Shifen Pavilion in the past, many true lords of Huashan in Shifen Pavilion look down on Sudang. Why should a young warrior be on par with them? From today on, it will be really different. Sudang also raised his glass and drank together. Your Excellency, I wish you to make further progress soon, become a martial saint, and finally become a martial god, break the void, and be truly free. True Lord Tishu said sincerely. Well, thank you for your good words. Sudang smiled and raised his glass. Everyone drank happily together. Behind the crowd, Lan Yateo sat there, looking at Sudang, who was being complimented by everyone in a well-behaved and quiet manner. Her face was full of joyful smiles, as if the person being praised was not Sudang, but her. Lan Zan saw it and nodded slightly. It is said that this Suzan has never been married. His reputation is also very good. It seems that the girl likes him. The girl herself is a disciple of Prime Minister Li, and it is also a perfect match for this Suzan. He thought about it, and the more he thought about it, the more satisfied he was. When Lan Yateo married, of course she would be the principal wife, not a concubine. As for the marriage that Lan Yateo's father had arranged for him in the past, Lan Zan didn't like it in the first place. That day, they returned to the Muzhao Palace and drank again, and both the host and the guests were happy. But after seeing the scene of the war, Sudang was not very happy. You know, the demon race has old demons in the Mahayana period, and that is a truly terrifying existence. Of course, the human race also has the Immortal Alliance, but in the battle between the human race and the demon race, the human race has always been at a disadvantage. In the evening, the King of Muzhao and others saw Sudang off. The other two true lords of transformation were going to stay in the King of Muzhao's mansion for a few days, and went to rest first. This book was recently updated on #@. Update. The King of Muzhao, Lan Zan, and Lan Yateo. The three saw Sudang off. Lan Zan wanted to talk to Sudang alone for a few times, but was stopped by Lan Yateo. Although Sudang was surprised, he didn't pay much attention, thinking that the grandfather and grandson were having a conflict. Okay, Your Majesty, please stay. Sudang clasped his fists and said to the people behind him, Your Excellency, please go slowly. The King of Muzhao also bowed. I'll see you off again. Sudang flew high into the sky, but saw Lan Yateo also fly up and float in the air with Sudang. The King of Muzhao was stunned for a moment, then a knowing smile appeared on his old face, and he bowed to Sudang. He turned around and took Lan Zan away. In the sky, Sudang and Lan Yateo stood side by side. Your Excellency, please. Lan Yateo chuckled and flew to the front. Sudang chuckled and flew over. The two flew side by side. They knew each other well, so there was no barrier between them. Sudang did not think much about it. They flew like this, one in front and one behind, and were about to fly out of Muzhao. Okay, we have reached the border of Muzhao. Miss Lan, please go back. Sudang said with a smile, looking at the girl who was still half a body ahead of him. Well, Venerable, take care. Lan Yateo turned around, with a smile on her pretty face. See you later. Sudang turned around, and was about to fly away. Wait, here is a letter for you. For you. The girl suddenly spoke again. She took out a letter from her bosom, and handed it to Sudang. Sudang took it, and the letter still exuded a faint fragrance. Letter? A letter from Prime Minister Li. Sudang was puzzled. If Prime Minister Li wanted to find him, he could just send a message through the 10 Directions Pavilion Venerable Order. Why did he need to write a letter? He was about to open it. Go back and read it. Lan Yateo quickly stretched out his hand to stop him. Put it away quickly and read it when you go back. The girl urged. Sudang had no choice but to put it away. Lan Yateo smiled again, but his cheeks were slightly red under the setting sun, which made him even more beautiful. Sudang was slightly distracted. Then he smiled and turned away. The girl was there watching the young man who turned into lightning and left. She stroked her chest with her white palm, as if her heartbeat had accelerated a lot. Chapter 144 Shocked. In a vast swamp far away from the territory of the Jin Dynasty, there is a huge palace cave of demons. The chief of the heavenly demon army lives here. The chief is naturally an old demon in the Mahayana stage, who has lived for a long time. At this moment, he is in this palace. On the magnificent throne in the hall, countless blood-colored mists rise and gather, condensing into a woman in a blood-colored robe. This woman is extremely charming and seductive. Under a pair of blood-colored eyebrows, her charming eyes suddenly reveal a puzzled look, sending the four saints to seize a small border town of the Jin Dynasty. Failed. The four great incarnation monsters attacked at the same time, so they should have some confidence, but failed. She waved her hand gently. Wow, a shadow appeared in the air in front of him. It was a ferocious incarnation monster with an elephant head. His eyes were full of awe, and he knelt down in front of the blood-colored monster woman from a distance. Army Lord. The elephant monster shouted. You four saints attacked a small town on the border of the human Jin Dynasty, but all failed, and 3 of you died. Was it that Prime Minister Lee who took action? Said the Heavenly Demon Army leader. The elephant demon knelt respectfully, grinning hurriedly under his long trunk and said, report to the army leader. It was not Prime Minister Lee. We took action suddenly, and the formations were all over the border. Even Prime Minister Lee could not provide timely support. It was a warrior who suddenly appeared. This warrior was very scary, and he had a terrible magic weapon in his hand. We all fell into the hands of this warrior. A warrior killed you like this? The enchanting woman was shocked. At the same time, a pair of blood-colored eyebrows were tightly knitted together. Yes, it was a warrior named Sudang. The elephant demon said. The Heavenly Demon Army leader was stunned. Sudang? This name is so familiar. She waved her hand again, and a blood-colored bag with formation appeared in the air in front of her. In the bag with formation, there was a blood-colored ice mirror. Did you sing this Jin Dynasty Sudang for me? The enchanting woman pointed her finger, and the surging demonic power immediately surged out from her fingertips. This 8 diagrams blood mirror is one of her most important magic weapons, and it is the best magic weapon in the world. It can deduce all things in the past. She can become a great demon and the leader of the Heavenly Demon Army, which is inseparable from this magic weapon. On weekdays, deducing ordinary spiritual treasures requires her to pay 30% of her demonic power. Today, she is deducing a warrior, who is still a warrior with a connection with the demon clan. Logically, paying 30% of her demonic power is enough. But 30% of the demonic power was injected into the blood-colored 8 diagrams mirror. The mirror was hazy with blood, but no picture appeared. Deducing a warrior, my 30% demonic power is not enough. The enchanting woman was surprised. Add another 20%. 50% of the demonic power was injected into it, and the blood-colored mirror became clearer, but there was still no picture. The face of the Heavenly Demon Army leader froze. The demonic power continued to increase and flow in. 60%, 80%, 100%. Wow. A blurred picture finally appeared on the blood-colored bagua mirror. To deduce a warrior, I actually need to use all my strength. When I deduced the Prime Minister Lee of the Jin Dynasty, it didn't cost so much. Prime Minister Lee was an immortal cultivator, transcending the 5 element. How could this warrior rely on him? The strange woman was really shocked, and then she looked at everything that appeared in the blood-colored bagua mirror in the air. In the picture, on a majestic mountain, Sudang killed the black-winged demon with a knife. Yes, it was him. The black-winged demon died in his hands. The strange woman understood why she felt that the name was familiar. Then, the picture turned, and in the demon lake, Peng Yao Zuansheng also died under Sudang's knife. Deducing all the way until the Muzhao Pass, Sudang used the wind space to kill the 3 great incarnation monsters. And the moment she saw Sudang using the wind space, no, it's impossible. A warrior can't be so strong. This is against the way of heaven. That wind is the mystery of heaven and earth. Using swordsmanship to interpret the mystery of heaven and earth. The strange woman was shocked and angry. Unbelievable. You know, the superiority of immortal cultivators is that they can control the natural power of heaven and earth for their own use, but a warrior can interpret the mystery of heaven and earth with swordsmanship. What realm is this? This is much stronger than the martial saint of Wei Dynasty. His swordsmanship is too terrible. How long has he been practicing? It's less than a year since he killed the old black wind demon. This growth rate is too fast. Humans originally have a short lifespan, but their comprehension is amazing. But there is a limit to being amazing. They grow to this level within a year. This is simply a monster. If Sudang's swordsmanship can be further improved, won't he suppress even those of us who are at the Mahayana stage? His swordsmanship can now interpret the mysteries of heaven and earth. In the future, I'm afraid he will become another prime minister of the Jin Dynasty. No, Sudang must die. He must die, while we can still kill him now. The enchanting woman was anxious. She sensed an unprecedented sense of crisis from Sudang. The key is that this warrior is too young. He has grown to this point in just a few decades. If he is given hundreds of years, he will definitely not be given the chance. Military lord, this failure is not our fault. It's because that human is too treacherous and hides well. The elephant demon was still kneeling there explaining. Wow. Before he finished speaking, his figure disappeared. The enchanting woman directly cut off contact and waved her hand. A token appeared in her hand, with a terrifying demon outlined in the token. But the token vibrated, and a terrifying wave came out of it, and at the same time a voice came out. Zuji, what do you want from me? Of course I have something important to ask you to kill someone. The enchanting woman Zuji whispered. Who is it? A warrior from the Jin Dynasty, named Sudang, has the top strength of the god transformation. He is a great threat to our demon clan. Zuji Lion said. There was a slight silence on the other end of the token for a while. Well, one person killed 3 great demons of your heavenly demon army, and he was a warrior. It is indeed extraordinary, and should be killed. However, after all, he is a warrior, and his lifespan is short. I will arrange people to try to assassinate him once in the Jin Dynasty. After all, he is just a human warrior, and it should be easy to assassinate him. A voice came from the token. However, it was obviously not as important as Zuji. After all, he is just a warrior. In front of these demons, who have lived for a long time, a warrior is just a meteor passing through the torrent of time. No matter how brilliant you are, you will eventually fall. This book has been updated recently in Update. Assassinate once. Then this time we must send a top assassin to carry out, and we must not be careless. Zuji Lion said. But the token has been disconnected, and I don't know if the other side heard what she said. The face of the enchanting woman suddenly became extremely ugly. This stupid old demon has lived for a long time, and his brain has also degenerated. The demon race has a long lifespan, and there are many who live long. Naturally, there are also many branches of power. In ancient times, before humans rose, the demon race fought fiercely among themselves. It is a little better now, but there are still fights. For example, some demons are born as natural enemies, and it is impossible for them to get along well. Your heavenly demon army suffered a loss. Other great demons will not care. Zuji wants to kill Sudang, but Sudang is in the Jin Dynasty. Going to the Jin Dynasty to kill people. Even she dare not, because the Jin Dynasty has the Mahayana ancestors and the support of the Immortal Alliance. It is not something she can break into. Wait, I hope these old guys can kill Sudang. I also hope that Sudang will progress slowly, and it would be best if he never progresses again. She thought, but when she thought of the terrible wind, her eyes turned cold again. Absolutely no progress. Elsewhere, in the Jin Dynasty palace, the Emperor of Jin and Prime Minister Li were sitting together in a palace. A scroll was unfolded above the palace, showing a scene of Sudang fighting against 3 great spirit transforming monsters outside Mazhao Pass. This Sudang has made great progress. How long has it been since he reluctantly fought against the evil old monk? 3 months. His strength has improved so much. The Emperor of Jin exclaimed. Neither Lei Ming nor Taishu are his opponents. Look, that sword technique. Look at that wind. Prime Minister Li suddenly saw a picture in the void. Sudang used the wind space. Suddenly, the 3 great spirit transforming monsters were trapped. That wind. The Emperor of Jin was stunned. Using sword techniques to interpret the mysteries of heaven and earth, I have only seen it before, when I was reading records about the legends of ancient warriors in the Overseas Immortal Alliance, and I have also seen it in the ruins, but this is the first time I have really seen it. Prime Minister Li was also shocked. Interpreting the mysteries of heaven and earth is really terrifying. Chapter 145, Passion for the Tao. You have always said that warriors are scary, but that is what I have seen from the traces in the ruins and the ancient records preserved overseas. In our era, Cultivating immortals is the mainstream, and I have never taken it seriously. Jin Huang sighed, looking at Li Xiangai and said, but today, when I saw Sudong, I realized that this warrior is really scary. How long has he been practicing? He is only 21 years old this year, and he is so strong. When I was 21 years old, I had just formed a pill. Li Xiangai looked at the picture in the void scroll and nodded slightly. The threshold of the warrior's path is extremely low, and the progress is fast in the early stage. But even in the ancient times, there were only a few who could interpret the mysteries of heaven and earth with skills. And the practice of warriors, in theory, is more and more difficult as time goes by. But for Sudong, this principle does not seem to make sense. Sudong's progress is getting bigger and bigger. It is so big, that even Li Xiangai and Jin Huang are shocked. Your Majesty, if you fight with Sudong now, I'm afraid you will not get the upper hand. Li Xiangai smiled. Well, I'm just a little better than Tishu. The Emperor of Jin nodded. But both of them were happy. Sudong's rapid progress was a good thing. After all, he was a strong man in their Jin Dynasty. The strength of a country is not the strength of one person, but the continuous emergence of strong people, becoming stronger and stronger. But, a wave came from the void. Li Xiangai and the Emperor of Jin were startled at the same time. Then, the Emperor of Jin flipped his hand, and a talisman appeared in his hand. A wisp of information came out. Li Xiangai was watching next to him. After a long time, the Emperor of Jin put away the talisman. A sigh appeared on his face. TSK, this treatment is different. This time, it's Sudong's turn to make a fortune. The Emperor of Jin suddenly laughed, and Li Xiangai next to him raised his eyebrows, and then he understood a little, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. The Emperor of Jin took out the True Lord Order of Shifen Pavilion. Pingu, are you there? He transmitted the voice through the True Lord Order. What does your Majesty want? Almost instantly, a gentle woman's voice came from the True Lord Order. Although they were both True Lords of the 10 Directions Pavilion, in terms of seniority, this Pingu was of the same generation as the ancestors of the Jin Dynasty. She had achieved success in cultivation, and had taken the spiritual essence that could prolong life. The Emperor of Jin was very polite when he saw her. I remember that there is a red-hearted white chrysanthemum in the 10 Directions Pavilion, which can increase the strength of warriors and increase their lifespan. You should send this spiritual essence to Sudong in the Ningen Venerable's mansion. The Emperor of Jin said. That's a second-grade spiritual essence. The woman asked back. Even the true lords of the 10 Directions Pavilion would salivate over the second-grade spiritual essence. Generally, they would only obtain it after great contributions, or with precious treasures. It would be unreasonable for the Emperor of Jin to directly reward others like this. This is what the ancestor meant. The Emperor of Jin smiled. Suddenly, there was no sound coming from the token for a long time. After a while, a sound came back. Okay, I will immediately send this spiritual essence to the Ningen County Venerable's mansion. The connection was immediately cut off. Li Xiangai was watching from the side. Actually, he had given Sudong a second-grade spiritual essence body jade core last time, but that was a private gift, which was different from this kind of reward. Of course, he would not say much. The ancestor was also shocked. A martial artist at the level of Wu Zun now has the top combat power of the spirit transformation. If he improves a little more, I'm afraid he will really break the sky. Jin Emperor sighed. It has been a long time since the Jin Dynasty has seen someone who has attracted the attention of the Jin Dynasty ancestors. In the past, Li Xiangai was one, and now Sudong is another. We are shocked, and I'm afraid that the monsters are also shocked. During this period, I'm afraid that they will arrange means to deal with Sudong. Li Xiangai said. Haha, what are you afraid of? There are not enough people that the monsters want to kill. Didn't they attack you at the beginning? But what can they do in the end? As long as Sudong does not leave the scope of the Jin Dynasty, it will be fine. Jin Emperor was extremely confident. Yes, the strong always come out of crisis. Even if there is a real threat, it is a good temper. Li Xiangai nodded. Both of them have seen big storms and waves, and have seen all kinds of dangerous scenes, so they naturally see it very thoroughly. That night, when the monster and Jin Cheo were shocked, Sudong was in the room of the Su mansion, holding a letter in his hand, looking at the words in the letter in a daze. The font was delicate, but also sharp. But between the lines, the girl's admiration was expressed. Sudong was shocked when he saw it. This can be considered a love letter. Sudong put away the letter. Lian Yateo was a top-notch woman in terms of beauty, temperament, character, and education. The two of them were very familiar with each other. And in terms of feelings, this girl was obviously much bolder than him. She liked it, and said it directly. But what about him? Doesn't he like it? Who does he like? Sudong walked to the window, and looked at the bright moon in the sky. On such a night, is there another person who is also looking at the same moon, and thinking about him? What is he waiting for? Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm going to practice swordsmanship. Sudong drew out the demon-slaying sword, and walked out of the room. In the courtyard, the sword light suddenly appeared. Sudong casually performed swordsmanship. He said he didn't want to think about it, but scenes from the past emerged in his mind. After escaping from Black Wind Mountain, on the brink of life and death, the figure always appeared in his dream. It was not her. He had died long ago. Was it just a simple favor? As soon as he thought about it, a completely different girl appeared in his mind, dressed as a man, heroic, daring to love and hate. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. Like a wisp of spring breeze, it appeared in his life. Every look, every smile, was so dazzling, that he lost his mind. Don't you like it? All kinds of emotions flowed in Sudong's heart. Slowly, it actually aroused his mood. But, a special wave came from Dantian. The extreme way, the extreme sword is the way, the extreme emotion is also the way. At this moment, Sudong's martial arts mentality, which had been stagnant for more than 2 months, loosened again, and all kinds of insights emerged in his heart. Sudong's figure was still swinging the sword, but the 9 stars in the Dantian in his body quietly emitted golden light, which reflected and appeared on various acupuncture points on Sudong's body. The light was bright. The second level of the extreme way, the extreme emotion. Emotion is to people, just like the way of heaven to heaven. With the way of heaven, all things grow and have order, and the cycle of life and death has laws. With emotion, people have joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness, and have joys and sorrows. Extreme emotion in the way. Sudong put away his sword. In the Dantian, the 9 stars gathered into a pillar, emitting endless golden light, and Sudong's eyes were satisfied. The second level of the extreme way, the extreme emotion in the way. Yes, this is my extreme way. The breakthrough of skills, one step further, is the realm of Martial Saint. Haha, the Jin Dynasty will soon have Martial Saint, and that's me. Sudong laughed. At this moment, the joy of his breakthrough seemed to make him forget all his worries and entanglements. On the monster side, from the moment the commander of the Heavenly Demon Army reported the assassination of Sudong, the monster began to make arrangements. Jin Dynasty, Ning'an County, Sudong. In a dark cave, there was an extremely evil snake-like man, twisting his body and hovering in the cave, looking at the token in front of him. Poison Dragon Great Sage, are you willing to go? A cold and indifferent voice came from the token. If you can kill this Sudong, I will give you the dragon transformation liquid you want. The evil snake-like man sneered. That Sudong is the Venerable of the 10 Directions Pavilion. I assassinate the Venerable of the 10 Directions Pavilion. Although he is a warrior, the risk is too great. That Prime Minister Lee is absolutely invincible in the Jin Dynasty's transformation realm. Let me go. Are you looking for death? Don't you want the dragon transformation liquid? The token voice was not anxious at all. The evil snake-like man suddenly looked ugly. I was originally a human, but I had no choice but to take over the body of the snake demon. However, this body of the snake demon will soon decay. Unless I can transform into a dragon one step further, I can also take a step further. But facing Prime Minister Lee of the Jin Dynasty, he hesitated. Chapter 146, Poison Dragon Sage. The temptation of the dragon transformation liquid was too great. Kill a warrior and you can get the dragon transformation liquid. Forget it. Even if it offends the Jin Dynasty, it's worth it. Then Lord Lee might not take action at the first time. This matter. I did it. After hesitating for a moment, the evil snake-like man finally whispered. Very good. This is the detailed information about Sudan. After the matter is done, come to Guiyar Mountain to get the dragon transformation liquid. Suddenly, a lot of information came out of the token. The evil snake-like man looked at it. At the age of 21, he became the venerable of Shifen Pavilion. He also fought 1 against 3 at the same time and killed 3 great monsters of transformation. He was shocked, but he didn't care at all. Front-on-front combat is powerful. This warrior is not ordinary, good at swordsmanship. Unfortunately, there are many ways to kill people. I won't give you a chance to use the sword. The evil snake-like man laughed coldly, twisting his body and crawling out of the dark cave. There was only one exit in the cave. Climbing out, it was a cold dry well. The dry well was in the backyard of a wealthy family, and there were guards guarding outside the backyard. Swish. The snake-like man crawled out, his body transformed, and in an instant he grew hands and feet, turning into a normal middle-aged man, wearing a green robe, and his face became much softer. He walked out. Master. Hello, Master. Many servants and guards saluted respectfully. The man nodded and walked towards the front yard. Looking at the master's back, the 2 guards sighed. The master has a huge fortune, but he doesn't have the slightest airs of a rich man. He is kind and generous, and he is a rare good man. There is no better person than the master in the 10 miles and 80 miles of Lechin County. The 2 discussed. They are also martial arts masters in the rivers and lakes, but they are willing to serve as a guard in the master's mansion. The gentleman walked through the corridor, came to the front yard, and passed by a maid. Master, the maid said respectfully. The gentleman left without saying anything, but the maid suddenly saw a jade pendant falling from the master's waist. The jade pendant fell from the robe without making any sound. The master didn't notice it either. The maid lowered her head and widened her eyes. After the master left, she hurriedly bent down to pick it up from the ground. This is a beautiful jade with top-grade material. I'm rich. The maid smiled happily. But then, her eyes suddenly widened, and her originally happy cheeks showed a look of fear. Black blood flowed from the corners of her mouth. She fell to the ground and died before she could react. The gentleman returned to the maid's side and looked at the maid's body without any mercy. Human, greed is your biggest weakness. Greedy people are the most delicious. The gentleman waved his hand, and the body on the ground floated up directly. As he floated into a room, the body still held the jade pendant tightly in his hand. A moment later, the gentleman walked out of the room in high spirits. There were only some women's clothes left in the room, and the jade pendant was back on his waist. It hung quietly. The poisoned dragon great sage gently licked the remaining blood on the corner of his mouth. This Halaoyi is my identity, that I have disguised for more than 10 years. Now I have a big family and a big business, and I have 18 concubines. I really don't want to abandon it like this. He was used to the life of a rich man, so he didn't envy the lives of those monsters. He was a human, but he just took over the body of monster. Try to kill this Sudan quietly, and I may have a chance to be my Halaoyi. Then, the man flew up with the wind and turned into a black light. The spiritual power of the god transformation stage surged around him, covering a layer of dark green mist. In the mist, a pair of evil snake eyes flashed with cold light. I'm different from other gods. I became a god by taking the body of this god snake demon. But if I drink and peck, this body is decaying, and I will decay with it. I have no choice but to fight to get the dragon true liquid. Sudan, a martial arts master? He is stronger than you can imagine in a head-on fight, but I'm good at soul attacks, poison, and the art of concealing the change of breath. If you plan well, you should be able to kill him easily. The poisoned dragon great sage sneered. Then a black light flashed, and he flew directly into the night sky. The Hao family didn't know that their master had left, let alone that their master was a god. A god, even if he used some tricks in secret, could easily run a family business in this mortal world. In the whole Lechin County, I'm afraid there is no one who can be the opponent of the poisoned dragon great sage. He was also kind and generous, and his reputation spread far and wide, and he lived a comfortable life. 3 days later, Ningen, the Venerable's mansion. Sudan was in the hall. Yangan and Zengdashu stared at the palm-sized wooden boat on the table with wide eyes. The wooden boat was carved with buildings and painted with buildings, which was quite exquisite and impressive. Donja, is this the legendary flying boat? Yangon was surprised. So small. Zengdashu also muttered. Sudong chuckled and picked up the palm-sized flying boat. There was a formation engraved on the flying boat. This is a magic weapon of the immortals. The immortals took the trouble to refine it. Of course, it has its extraordinary features. Let's go out and see it. Sudong smiled and walked outside. Yangon and Zengdashu followed him. This book has been updated recently in Update. In the courtyard of the Su mansion, Sudong took out 10 spirit crystals and placed them on the magic array carved on the flying boat. They naturally turned into streams of light and penetrated into it. Suddenly, the flying boat in his hand, which was originally the size of a palm, began to rise and grow, rising against the wind, and in a blink of an eye it became a fairy sedan chair the size of a house, floating in the sky above the courtyard, with pavilions standing on it. It was quite spectacular. Wow, it's really a fairy sedan chair, Zengdashu exclaimed. Let's go up. Sudong smiled. With a wave of his hand, the invisible and gentle wind easily lifted the figures of Yangon and Zengdashu to fly. The three of them landed on the flying boat fairy sedan chair and walked into the pavilion in the flying boat. The pavilion had halls and rooms, and furniture and everything else was available, all of which had been refined. Sudong took out a control array plate in his hand, and with a thought, the flying boat suddenly rose into the sky, flew 100 meters high, and flew slowly. After Yangon and Zengdashu looked around with wide eyes, they walked to the edge of the flying boat and looked down at the shrinking Ning'an County city below. It's really spectacular. This flying boat is really great. The two were full of emotion. Donja, Miss Lion is really generous. She gave you such a valuable gift. You must thank her, Yangon said. Sudong choked. Then he nodded slightly. Yes, I will. He replied. Lion Yateo said he would give him a flying boat, and he didn't take it seriously. Master, look over there. There is also a fairy sedan flying over there. Zengdashu suddenly pointed to the clouds hundreds of meters ahead. Sudong and Yangon looked over there. It's the fairy sedan of the Immortal Alliance. Sudong saw where the fairy sedan came from at a glance. His figure had already flown out and stood far in front of the flying boat. In the distance, the fairy sedan arrived in the blink of an eye and stopped. A figure also flew out of it. Seeing this figure, Sudong immediately clasped his fists and saluted. Junior Sudong. Greetings to Fairy Ping. The figure in the distance was a beautiful woman in a green robe. She was holding a Buddhist whisk in her hand. There was a faint spiritual light in her eyes. She smiled at Sudong. Sudong did not dare to neglect her. Fairy Ping was a top-notch figure in Chiffon Pavilion. In terms of strength, she was at the top level of the incarnation realm. She was of a very high generation, the same generation as the ancestors of the Jin Dynasty. Because of her successful cultivation and the use of top spiritual essences, her appearance was very well maintained. Indeed, you are extraordinary, Venerable Su. There is no need to be polite. I came here to give you something. Aunt Ping looked at Sudong in front of her, nodded with satisfaction and smiled. Her voice was soft, and Sudong felt like he was bathed in spring breeze when he heard it. However, Yangon and Zengdashu on the flying boat behind him did not even dare to breathe. Chapter 147, Loyal Heart and White Chrysanthemum. Sending something? Sudong was puzzled. You kid, why don't you invite me down to sit for a while? Pingu said with a smile. I'm sorry for being rude, fairy, please. Sudong said. Just call me Pingu. Your flying boat is pretty good, huh? Pingu smiled and walked over in the void. Just as she took a look at the flying boat, she was suddenly startled, and a look of surprise appeared on her face. Then she looked at Sudong with a smile. Venerable Su, where did you get this flying boat from? This flying boat was given to me by a friend. Sudong said. Oh, then this friend is not bad. He is willing to give you such a good flying boat. You must treat him well. Pingu smiled. Sudong blinked, thinking that Pingu's words were meaningful, but he didn't ask any more questions, and nodded immediately. Of course. He was always very good to his friends. Well, let's go to your venerable mansion to take a look. Pingu took another look at the flying boat in the sky, smiled and flew downwards. Sudong accompanied her and fell downwards. The flying boat also fell downwards. In the Venerable's mansion, Sudong and Pingu took their seats. Pingu, this is the spiritual tea sent by the king of Moscow. It is much better than the tea in my Ningan County. Sudong personally poured tea for the beautiful woman sitting next to him. Okay, you don't have to be polite. Your strength is not lower than mine. You fought against 3 great monsters of the transformation of spirits alone, and killed them all. It's incredible. Those monsters have ways to save their lives. Pingu smiled and praised, you are only 21 years old. 21 years old, really extraordinary. No wonder the ancestors pay special attention to you. The ancestors pay attention to me? Sudong was shocked. The ancestor is naturally the ancestor of the Jin Dynasty. He is a great cultivator. He established the Jin Dynasty alone, and is a first-class strong man in the world. Of course, you are a strong man who rose in my Jin Dynasty. Of course, I have to do my best to cultivate you. Isn't this asking me to send you a treasure? Pingu took out a brocade box. As soon as the brocade box was taken out, Sudong felt the amazing spiritual energy contained in it. This is the 2nd grade spiritual essence, Dantian white chrysanthemum. It will be very beneficial for you as a warrior. After taking it, it should not be difficult to help you become a martial saint in a short period of time. Pingu smiled. Sudong stared at the brocade box in a daze. 2nd grade spiritual essence? Last time, Prime Minister Lee gave him a 1st or 2nd grade spiritual essence. This time, the ancestor of the Jin Dynasty gave him another one. Sudong also understood that this was because the Jin Dynasty really valued him. Sudong thanks the ancestor for the reward. Sudong stood up and bowed to the void. You have always done well, much better than many old guys. Pingu was very satisfied with the young man in front of her. She was different from others in the court. In addition to strength, she paid more attention to a person's character. After reading Sudong's files, she had noticed satisfaction with the young man in front of her, and even more admiration. This time, the Emperor of Jin and Prime Minister Lee asked me to bring you 2 words. Pingu smiled. The Emperor of Jin said that you have risen recently, so you should be careful of the demons and evil cultivators who may harm you. The Wei dynasty is a country controlled by evil cultivators, who have always acted cruelly. They are also human beings, so it is difficult to guard against them. They will never watch you rise and do nothing. Therefore, you can do whatever you want in the future. You can kill anyone who is not good for you, whether they are officials or wealthy businessmen, immortal cultivators or warriors. You don't have to care. This is the protection of Sudong by the Emperor of Jin, and it is also power. What kind of strong person should have what kind of power? If you are tied up, it will only make the strong person dissatisfied. Thank you, Emperor Jin. Sudong nodded slightly. Sudong understood the good intentions of the Emperor of Jin, and was indeed grateful in his heart. Prince Lee's words are to remind you that you have come this far as a warrior. You should go to the Zenshin secret realm. There should be something you can gain. Pingu said. Although Lord Lee said little, Lord Lee is a person who sees things far ahead and judges people accurately. You are only 21 years old this year, and your future is limitless. Lord Lee's meaning should be that he hopes you can go further. If you can become a martial god, you will truly be an eternal legend in the world. I understand. Sudong nodded, and he always remembered Lord Lee's help to him. I have always wanted to go to the Zenshin secret realm, but recently my mind has been on the extreme way in swordsmanship. Perhaps I should go out more often. Sudong thought to himself. Pingu nodded with satisfaction. Okay, my mission is also completed. Suzan, take me to taste your Ningan cuisine. I heard that the cuisine in Ningan County is good. She smiled. Of course, the cuisine in my son's mansion is also extraordinary authentic Ningan cuisine. Sudong stood up and invited people to set up a banquet. It was a lively occasion. Pingu was quite approachable and had no airs of a cultivator. During the meal, she looked at Zengdashu twice more and gave him a piece of spiritual jade, saying that although Zengdashu was young, he had a very strong inner demon. This spiritual jade could help him to guard his mind. This was something that even Sudong, the master, had not thought of. It could be said that it was also an opportunity for Zengdashu. Zengdashu was also very grateful. It was not until the afternoon, above the Su mansion, that Sudong bid farewell to Pingu's fairy sedan. The latter tasted the Ningen delicacies and took some spiritual tea sent by the king of Moscow. She left with satisfaction. In Pingu's fairy sedan, sitting upright on a cushion in the fairy sedan, Pingu stretched out her jade hand, and a jade talisman appeared in her hand. She smiled and shouted to the jade talisman, little girl, please reply if you hear me. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. In less than a moment, the jade talisman lit up. A voice responded immediately. Aunt Ping, why did you think of looking for me? Do you want me to ask Master for help again? He is just like that, very rigid. But my words are still effective. The voice from the jade talisman was clear and moving, very pleasant to the ear. Don't come on, who wants to deal with Prime Minister Li for no reason? I contacted you this time specifically for your matter. Aunt Ping smiled, but her appearance was not as serious as usual, and she had a bit of the dignified look of an elder aunt. My matter? What's my matter? A puzzled voice came from the jade talisman. You are still hiding it from me. Tell me, how did the flying boat I gave you end up in Sudong's hands? Aunt Ping asked with a smile. Ah, how did you know? Lion Yateo on the other end of the jade talisman panicked. His voice was full of panic. It was as if he was caught doing something bad. You little girl, you are in love. You didn't even tell your aunt. However, Sudong is not bad. His character and cultivation are all top notch, and your vision is not bad. Aunt Ping stated her position and smiled. Really? You think so too? The girl on the other side of the jade talisman paused, and her voice softened. The two women talked, and laughter came from the fairy sedan from time to time, dissipating in the clouds. At the Su mansion, after sending Pingu away, the first thing Sudong did was to lock himself in the room. And he specifically ordered that no one was allowed to disturb him without his permission. In the room, Sudong sat cross-legged, and in front of him was a brocade box. He gently opened the brocade box, and suddenly a rich spiritual energy emanated, filling the entire room. Sudong looked at the spiritual essence in the brocade box, a jade white petal, and in the center of the petal, there was a touch of red cinnabar mark. The rich spiritual energy permeated it, and people couldn't help but want to swallow it in one gulp. Back then, a body jade core caused the #1 dial-up button on my cell phone to mutate. This red heart white chrysanthemum is also a second grade spiritual essence. If I take it, will it also cause mutation? Sudong picked up the red heart white chrysanthemum. But whether it is a cell phone mutation, or helping me to break through my skills, it will help my strength. If someone really takes away my cell phone, I can't control it. Sudong smiled, and then didn't think anymore. He gently put the red heart white chrysanthemum to his mouth, and swallowed it in one gulp. Chapter 148 Key 2. After taking this second grade spiritual essence in one gulp, it tasted sweet, and had an unimaginable fragrance. Even though it was not the first time he took it, Sudong still felt every cell in his body trembling. That was the natural temptation of spiritual essence to life, and it was the best gift from heaven to life. Wow. The surging spiritual power spread from Sudong's body and radiated to his whole body. This scene was like a spiritual storm, sweeping Sudong's body madly, but Sudong had not had time to experience the baptism brought by this storm. The originally silent mobile phone in his Dantian also quietly vibrated under Sudong's special attention. As the mobile phone vibrated, Sudong's heart trembled. In this slight vibration, a golden light emerged, and then the surging medicinal power that had just been released was instantly absorbed by this golden light, just like a huge whirlpool with no bottom, madly absorbing it all, leaving no trace for Sudong. It's been taken away again. Sudong helplessly felt the rapid loss of the medicinal power in his body, and smiled bitterly. It was really uncomfortable to see the second grade spiritual essence, but not be able to eat it. I hope this time I can increase the storage space of my mobile phone, Sudong said secretly. Because of the space of his mobile phone, he has not downloaded any applications for a while. Since he can't resist, he can only hope so. However, according to his calculations, to increase the space, at least the first grade top spiritual essence is possible. The golden light of the mobile phone swallowed the spiritual essence very efficiently. It took less than a cup of tea to absorb all the rich medicinal power. Then the golden light gradually converged, and this abnormality completely stopped. It stood quietly in Sudong's Dantian purple mansion again. Let me see what changes this time. Sudong's mind moved, and he turned on the screen of his mobile phone. The first thing he found was that the dial pad in the lower left corner of the mobile phone was emitting a faint light. Obviously, the changes brought by this second grade spiritual essence are still limited to this dial pad. When he opened the dial pad, he saw that the key number 2 next to the already prominent key number 1 was also intertwined with strands of light. However, this light showed a dark and deep color. Under this interweaving of light, the key number 2 also slowly protruded from the dial pad and then gently fell. Sudong's mind moved slightly. Swish. He opened his eyes and stretched out his palm. In his palm, a dark key number 2 was quietly lying. The function of the key number 1 is like a coordinate point. No matter where I am, as long as the key number 1 is there, I can instantly appear at this coordinate point. What about the key number 2? Sudong took a deep breath and began to carefully study the key number 2 in his hand. He kneaded it gently, but it did not have a strong resonance with his body like the key number 1, as if it was born as a part of his body. The key number 2 was more like an object. Try injecting true energy. Sudong tried to slowly inject the true energy light spot in his body into the key number 2 in his hand. For a moment, there was no reaction. Just when Sudong was at a loss, the key number 2, which had been lying quietly in Sudong's hand, trembled. For about a second, Sudong's palm seemed to be pricked by a needle. Suddenly, the dark light of the key number 2 intertwined and quickly drilled into Sudong's palm. Fortunately, the pain of the needle only lasted for a moment and was not too strong. After the key number 2 drilled into Sudong's palm, it was visible to the naked eye. With Sudong's right hand as the center, a series of blood threads quickly spread across the arm and extended to Sudong's heart. When the blood-colored thread connected the key number 2 in the palm of the hand and the heart, suddenly, a kind of blood thread beat with the beating of Sudong's heart. During this beating, the key number 2 in the palm of the hand also underwent some strange changes. Just watching this process, Sudong's heart was slightly muttered. This scene was a bit like the blood refining, when the evil cultivators sacrificed some strange magic weapons. The whole process lasted about 10 minutes, and everything stopped. The blood-colored threads extending from the arm disappeared completely. Only the number 2 key in the palm of his hand was still quietly embedded under the skin. But there was no feeling at all. He could only sense it was there, but he couldn't see it. Sudong stared at the palm of his right hand silently, and his mind moved. Suddenly, with his right hand as the center, a layer of dark red light quickly spread out, and the light flashed and extended to cover Sudong's entire arm, neck, head, chest, diffused and covered every part of his body. The light was dim. It's amazing. Sudong stood up, looking at his current appearance. His whole body was covered with a layer of dark red strange substance, which formed a kind of protective battle suit. The thickness was not thick, but there were strange patterns on the chest and shoulders. Sudong walked to the bronze mirror in the room. In the bronze mirror, a head covered by a dark red helmet was revealed. The dark red battle suit even covered the head, and the eyes were also covered with dark red crystals. The nose and mouth were completely covered, but breathing was not affected at all. Sudong raised his hand. This battle suit seems to have no weight at all. He used his fingers covered with the battle suit to touch the tables and chairs. The touch was the same as that of the skin. The touch is the same. Does this battle suit have defensive power? Sudong wondered, and then he hammered his chest with his right hand. Bang, how powerful he is now. Even if he doesn't use his true energy, the strength of his body alone can be comparable to that of a Yuan demon. With such a hammer, Sudong only felt the touch of his fist touching his chest, without any impact or dull feeling of being hit. This battle suit can offset the impact force. Sudong was shocked. At least the impact force of the Yuan level can be completely ignored. My knife. Sudong stretched out his palm, and the tooth-breaking knife with 3 colors of green, red, and black intertwined appeared in his hand. The extremely sharp tooth-breaking knife gently scratched his arm. It was like cutting on extremely tough leather, without even a trace left. This book was recently updated in #@. Update. Awesome. Such an awesome battle suit. Sudong was shocked. A second grade spiritual essence. In exchange for this kind of battlesuit, it's worth it. In the room, Sudang looked around at the battlesuit on his body, and the more he looked, the more satisfied he was. At the same time, he was looking forward to it. Key 1 is the movable space coordinate. Key 2 is this battlesuit. What about key 3? And the other keys? This mobile phone is like a huge treasure house. There are still many things to be mined. In a blink of an eye, the sun rose in the sky, and the sunshine was very good. Ning'an County City began another day of hustle and bustle. On the main street next to the venerable mansion, a tavern opened. The owner of the tavern is very good at doing business. The quality of the food is also excellent, and the wine is even better. Boss Hao, a guest walked into the tavern. Oh, Boss Wang came to take care of my business so early. Please come in. Behind the counter of the tavern, a gentle middle-aged man greeted him with a warm face. I can't help it. I miss your meat soup. Your meat soup is so fragrant that I can never get tired of it. Boss Wang smiled. Then eat more. I'll give you a discount. Boss Hao was very generous. Thank you very much, Boss Hao. Boss Hao said you're welcome and went back to the counter to calculate. He looked like he was planning for business. Suddenly, his brows furrowed. Behind the counter, a token automatically emerged, and a voice came out from it. Poison Dragon Great Sage, it's been a few days, why don't you do it? Thank you for your collection recommendations, and your monthly tickets. The second update will be after 8 o'clock later. Because of work transfer, Danki will adjust the daily update to 8 o'clock in the evening. Thank you for your support. Chapter 149 The opportunity has come. You arrived at Ning'an County of the Jin Dynasty 3 days ago, and it's already the 4th day. The voice transmission in the token was very dissatisfied. The great sage of Poison Dragon sneered, but Boss Hao was still there, bowing his head to settle accounts, but the soul transmission had been transmitted through the token. What's the hurry? The guards of the Venerable's mansion are strict, and it's Sudang's mansion. I can't just rush in and kill him blatantly, right? In terms of head-on fighting, I may not be Sudang's opponent. He was very leisurely and confident. Wait for a good opportunity, and when the opportunity comes, I will take action. Is it so difficult to kill a warrior? The other side of the token was very disdainful. That's not an ordinary warrior. The great sage of Poison Dragon transmitted the voice. Don't keep me waiting too long. The last voice transmission came coldly from the token, and then the connection was cut off. Boss Hao put away the token with a sneer on his face. Foolish old man, if I hadn't let you get an ancient demon vein 1,000 years ago, would you have become a great master? Really, demons are demons. The longer they live, the dumber they get. Do you think it's so easy to kill people in the Jin Dynasty? I want to kill Sudang, and I have to live after killing him. These 2 days, I have been pretending to blend into Ning'an County, hiding in the city, and I'm also good at hiding changes. This is my way out. The Poison Dragon Great Sage was very careful. He practiced until now, and every step he took was cautious. He was determined to get the Dragon Transformation Liquid, but it was not worth it to pay for his life for the Dragon Transformation Liquid. Wait for a good opportunity, and then make a move. Here, as long as Sudang appears, I can see him. It only takes one opportunity. It's best to kill him directly with his soul, and then use poison. Using poison requires a medium, so he is too easy to be exposed. Days passed one by one, and 10 days passed. The people of Ning'an County lived in peace and stability. The reputation of Boss Hao's tavern was growing. The wine in his tavern was good, and the meat soup was extremely delicious. There was an endless stream of customers. Boss Hao made a lot of money every day. He looked very happy. Poison Dragon Great Sage, why don't you do it? Are you going to wait for Sudang to die of old age? The token urged. I said, I'm waiting for an opportunity. The Poison Dragon Great Sage responded impatiently. He hadn't seen Sudang come out of the mansion these days. How to do it? I hope you can hurry up. If it's too late, I can't say whether I can keep the Dragon Transformation Liquid. There are many snake demons under my command who want this opportunity. The voice in the token snorted coldly. The transmission was cut off again. The Poison Dragon Great Sage looked grim and put away the token. Threatened him with the Dragon Transformation Liquid? What's wrong, Boss Hao? Why do you look so grim? A customer just walked into the store and saw the poison dragon great sage with a grim face behind the counter. "Oh, I had a stomachache this morning, eh?" Boss How had long been accustomed to pretending and explained with a smile, but as soon as he looked up and looked out the window of the tavern, he instantly saw two figures, one large and one small, walking casually on the street. He had read the news about Sudan countless times, and he remembered Sudan's appearance firmly in his mind. He thought about Sudan day and night. This glance suddenly revealed a strong light. Opportunity, opportunity, the opportunity I've been waiting for has finally arrived. That Sudan finally appeared in front of him. Sudan walked on the street with Zeng Dashu. Dashu, it's a good thing that you focus on cultivation, but you also need to combine work and rest, and go out more often. Eating delicious food is also a kind of enjoyment. Sudan also advised the apprentice beside him. He was diligent in cultivation, but Zeng Dashu was even more obsessed with it. Day after day, he practiced ki and swordsmanship. How can he not even leave the house for a long time? I'm afraid his personality will become very introverted and twisted. I will listen to my master and go out more often in the future. Zeng Dashu nodded. Sudan smiled and rubbed the little guy's head. The two were walking on the street. The street was very lively, with pedestrians coming and going, and small vendors on the street. The two of them walked. They also passed by the pub on the street. In front of the pub, Boss Hal was seeing off a guest. The guest was drunk and his body was still staggering. "Mr. Lee, take care," Boss Hal said enthusiastically. His eyes were full of the enthusiasm of a businessman and the humility of ordinary people. This is really a good businessman. Sudan and Zeng Dashu walked past the pub and saw Boss Hal going out to see off the guests. He glanced at him casually. He had a general eye for people, and he had misjudged Yang Yuchen at the beginning, almost putting himself in danger. A person's goodness and evil cannot be seen by eyes alone. Whether a person has ill will towards you cannot be judged by the goodness and evil of this person, but often evil people will have a greater chance of doing something bad to you. Sudan glanced over. The luck compass in Dantian's mobile phone opened automatically, outlining a human projection. It also outlined the shadow of Boss Hao. But it was not a human figure, but a hideous demon snake, wrapped in a terrifying black light. "This young man, try the meat soup in our tavern. It's absolutely delicious." Boss Hao took the initiative to greet Sudan and Zeng Dashu who were walking by the door. His face was full of warm smiles, and his eyes even had the humility and simplicity of ordinary people. He smiled, but the terrifying soul in his sea of consciousness was already baring its fangs and claws. The surging soul power had been brewing for a long time, and at this moment, it matched his smile. Like a violent storm, it locked onto Sudan and spread towards him. The soul attack of the cultivator in the god transformation realm has arrived. Boom. Even if it was an attack of nothingness, it seemed as if a thunderclap sounded within a few feet around. The soul attack of the poison dragon great sage was too condensed, and even condensed into a red shadow in the void. This red shadow shot out instantly, which was more terrifying than any magic weapon. At this moment, the distance between the poison dragon great sage and Sudan and Zeng Dashu was too close. Less than 2 meters. 2 meters away. The soul attack was ignored directly, and no one could react. Even if they could react, the soul attack was difficult to block. How could they block it? The poison dragon great sage was best at soul attacks. Because of his attainments in the soul, he even took the body of the spirit transforming snake monster. "Sudan, you are a warrior. How can you block my soul attack? You are good at fighting head on, and your swordsmanship is even more terrifying. You fought 1 against 3 and killed 3 spirit transforming monsters. Of course, I'm not your opponent, but you won't have a chance to use your sword." Boss Hao still had the most simple smile on his face. This book was recently updated in #at. Update. It was as if the one who was killing people was not him at all. Boom. The soul attack exploded out of thin air, and the horror crushed Sudan. Sudan looked over, and the silent soul was like a terrifying demon that had just awakened. At the moment when the soul attack of the poison dragon great sage came, the demon opened its mouth directly. It swallowed the soul attack directly in one mouthful. Pure soul attack is very mysterious. It is to attack with one's own soul. It is invisible and extremely strange and cruel. but at the same time, once it is backfired, it is even more violent. This is an invisible battle. After Sudong's demon blood awakened, the depths of his soul needed to absorb the resentful soul. Soul power attack. It is simply nourishment for him. The terrible soul attack only made Sudong blink. Boss Hao, who was disguised as the poison dragon great sage, suddenly widened his eyes in horror. No, it's impossible. How can my soul attack be ineffective? Ah. Bang. The terrible soul backfired back, instantly causing the hairband of the poison dragon great sage to explode, and then the whole head exploded instantly. A terrible and tragic scene took place on this street. The head exploded and turned directly into a huge broken snake head. Boss Hao's headless body instantly turned into a headless snake body twisted on the ground, and the half-human, half-snake Yuan Ying flew out of the snake body in a panic. A warrior. Such a terrifying soul. He is also good at swordsmanship. The way of heaven is fair. How could such a terrifying warrior be born? The face of the poison dragon great sage was full of despair. He was defeated. Completely defeated. As soon as the Yuan Ying flew out, a palm flashing with dark red light arrived and pinched his Yuan Ying directly. I'm also good at poison, and my Yuan Ying is also highly poisonous. If he touches my Yuan Ying, he will die. The poison dragon great sage was still thinking about killing Sudong at this moment. But when Sudong pinched him with his palm, the poison dragon great sage was stunned, and the Yuan Ying looked at the dark red light on his palm, and condensed into a glove. Glove? As soon as this thought came to mind, puff, Sudong clenched his palm, and the poison dragon great sage's Yuan Ying suddenly widened his eyes, and exploded and dissipated. Sudong immediately waved his hand, and before attracting more attention from passers-by, he directly put the body of the poison dragon great sage into an unused storage bag. The update will be delivered on time at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Chapter 150 Assassination. Sudong collected the remains of the poison dragon great sage's corpse, even the blood that was scattered. This monster is a snake monster. Snake monsters are good at using poison. It's better to be careful and don't hurt innocent people. As for him, the number 2 key battlesuit gloves blocked everything. How could the toxin penetrate the battlesuit gloves and get on Sudong's skin? Zhengdashu beside him was in shock from beginning to end. He was just casually walking on the street, and a tavern owner greeted them with a smile. Suddenly, the tavern owner's head exploded and turned into a terrible snake monster. The body of a snake monster in the god transformation realm, even the corpse, carried a terrifying pressure. It's a monster. Master, there are monsters in this county city. Zhengdashu looked at his master and said, this monster is too bold. This monster came for my master. Sudong also smiled and said, he wanted to kill my master, but unfortunately he was not strong enough and died. His face was very casual. Want to kill my master? Zhengdashu was even more worried. But seeing the casual expression on Sudong's face, he felt a little relieved. Master has killed so many monsters. Of course the monsters want to kill master, but these monsters are no match for master. This is strength. Zhengdashu thought to himself, when will he be as strong as master? Sudong thought to himself, the great monster who has reached the state of transformation is good at soul attack. He assassinated me unexpectedly. If it weren't for the fact that my demon bloodline has awakened and my soul has changed, it would be really dangerous. Assassination is different from direct combat. Direct combat relies on real strength, while assassination is based on underhand tactics. Before death comes, there is no sign at all. Generally, when the person being killed reacts, he is already dead. Soul attack is very suitable for assassination. If Sudong was hit just now, he would not know that it was this seemingly ordinary tavern owner who did it. I can encounter assassination, even when I'm shopping. It seems that the monsters really noticed me after the Battle of Mushal Pass. Sudong smiled. Emperor Jin had already told him about this. Not only monsters, but also many evil cultivators would target him. Come on, come if you want to kill me, but if you want to kill me, you have to be prepared to be killed by me. Sudong's eyes swept around, and his super sense attached to the wind space. Suddenly, a gentle wind enveloped the surrounding area for dozens of feet, and every pedestrian was enveloped in it. Everyone checked carefully to make sure that no one had a demonic aura. It seems that this monster is acting alone, without any companions. Also, assassination is not a head-on fight, so it doesn't need too many helpers. Sudong put away the wind space. Dashu, let's go shopping. There seems to be a trick over there, let's go and see. Sudong smiled. Ah, still shopping? Zengdashu looked at his master. He was assassinated by a monster, so it would be safer to go home. Don't worry, the monster is no match for your master. Sudong was very confident. They left together, and the pedestrians around were still confused. Someone saw a person in front of the tavern suddenly exploded his head and turned into a snake demon. Then, before they could see the snake demon's body clearly, the young man standing in front waved his hand, and the snake demon's body disappeared. After the young man left with the young boy, the crowd started to get excited. Did I see it wrong? I just saw a monster. I saw it too. The monster died as soon as it appeared. How could there be a monster in the county city? Who is that young man? A group of pedestrians were talking. Sudong didn't often walk around the streets, so naturally most people didn't know him. Boss Hao, check out. Guests came out of the tavern looking for Boss Hao, but they couldn't find him, no matter how hard they tried. They didn't know that the friendly boss would never be found again. In the afternoon, in Su's mansion, Sudong, who had just returned to the mansion, hadn't even had a sip of hot tea when the 10 Directions Pavilion venerable order on his waist vibrated. Sudong, the monster is still trying to kill you, so be careful. The voice of Prime Minister Lee came from the token. Although the voice was calm, one could probably hear the concern for Sudong in the tone. Prime Minister Lee saw everything. Sudong smiled at the token. Well, although the soul attack is amazing, it can't escape the monitoring of my formation. In addition, his nascent soul came out when he died, so I naturally noticed it. At that time, I mobilized the formation to send back the scene. That snake demon should be the poison dragon great sage who caused trouble 100 years ago and then disappeared without a trace. Li Xiangai said. Poison dragon great sage. Sudong was puzzled. Do these monsters like to have the word saint in their names? Yes, this poison dragon great sage is a cultivator of the human race in my dynasty. He is extremely good at studying the secret art of souls. He has killed countless people for this and was wanted by my Jin Dynasty. However, later he took the body of a dead snake demon by chance and became a big shot. He is also good at changing and hiding. After hiding, you can't find him. Li Xiangai said, but I didn't expect that he would dare to assassinate you this time. It turns out that he has the breath of a human soul, and he is good at changing and hiding. It is really difficult to detect. Sudong also nodded. When you were a human, you were a disaster. Now you want to kill me as a demon? Sudong said with a smile. You are really courting death. This poison dragon great sage is very cunning and cautious. Generally, you can't drive him without sufficient benefits. This time the demon asked him to take action, and it must have cost a lot. This shows how strong the demon's desire to kill you is. Li Xiangai stared and warned. This time the poison dragon great sage failed. I'm afraid there will be a second time. You must be careful. Don't worry, Xiangai, it's not easy to kill me. Sudong said with a smile. It was not easy before, and now he has more number to keep battle clothes, and his ability to save his life has been improved to a higher level. Well, I know you are powerful. This poison dragon great sage attacked you with a soul attack, but was actually backfired by the soul. Do you also study the soul? Li Xiangai asked with a smile. Seeing that the poison dragon great sage was backfired and shot in the head, he was really shocked. Sudong shook his head. How can I, a warrior, study soul attacks? It's just that occasionally I have some opportunities to resist soul attacks. Sudong said. Well, there are few spiritual creatures in the world that can protect the soul. You have a great chance. Li Xiangai sighed. The poison dragon great sage took the body of the snake demon and was also good at using poison. He also got the name of the poison dragon great sage. Unfortunately, he died before he could use his poison. Anyway, remember to be more careful. After reminding Sudong a few more times, Li Xiangai also disconnected the communication. This book has been updated recently in #@. Update. Sudong put away the venerable order. Thinking of the poison dragon great sage, he also nodded slightly. These monsters, knowing my strength, dare to assassinate me. They are all extraordinary. We should be careful. Don't be careless. Carelessness means death. Let's see what treasures the poison dragon great sage has. Sudong turned his palm, and the dark red light on his palm turned, floating out the number 2 key battle suit gloves, took out the storage bag left on the poison dragon great sage, and touched these things carefully. He took the storage bag in his palm, and poured it into the room. Wow. Many items were scattered all over the room. Stacks of silver bills were piled up, and spiritual crystals emitting a crystal green light were piled up into a small mountain. There were also many messy secret books, jade slips, and many bottles and jars. No spiritual essence. Sudong glanced at it, and saw everything at a glance. The weaker cultivators still have spiritual essence on them, but the stronger ones don't. Sudong shook his head. The weaker cultivators kept the spiritual essence for the time when they were ready, and the stronger ones had used it all. However, this poisonous dragon sage has lived for so many years, so naturally he still has a lot of treasures to collect. Sudong looked carefully. There are several methods of cultivating immortals, and many poisonous substances. TSK, and there are also many portraits of women. Sudong flipped through them. He couldn't help but shake his head. This poisonous dragon sage is very romantic. Indeed, snakes are naturally lustful. It's normal to be lustful. Hey, what is this token? Sudong picked up a token engraved with a hideous demon. As soon as he picked it up, the token shook violently, and then a voice came out of it. Poison dragon great sage, why don't you make a move? Don't you want the dragon transformation fluid? His voice was full of impatience. Sudong was stunned for a moment, then he understood. He sneered and said to the token, Poison dragon great sage is dead. Go burn paper if you have anything to do. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.